It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 16th edition of School of Tomorrow events, Guardians of the Future, Shaping Tomorrow with Generative AI. The non-profit School of Tomorrow event series was launched by Beaconhouse in year 2000 to engage global communities in conversations that shape the future of schools and societies. I would like to thank Google for Education and their tech partner, Tech Valley, the lead sponsor for School of Tomorrow 2023, and our titanium sponsor, United Bank Limited. Other key sponsors include My Backpack, MK Books International, Allied Bank Limited, Habib Bank Limited, Wateen, and Interwood. We also thank our School of Tomorrow supporters, including Paramount Books and Nestle Pure Life, who have contributed to this year's event. My name is Muhammad Qasim Rahman, and I am an IGCSE and A-levels mathematics teacher at Beaconhouse Pothoa campus, Islamabad. Please take a moment to note these important housekeeping points. Please ensure your cell phones are on silent. In case of an emergency, the exit point is located at the back of this hall. You may use the staircase opposite to this hall. In case if it is blocked or packed, you may use the one on the right-hand side. Always stay calm and follow directions. Please use the SOT app to scan the QR code for session question answer and feedback. Share your thoughts on social media using the hashtags, hashtag Guardians of the Future and hashtag SOT2023. If you need assistance, our ushers are here to help. For questions, please either use the flashcards provided by the ushers or the mobile app. The panel discussion will last for about 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes for question and answers. I would like to invite the moderator of the session, Mr. Azam Ali Noon, on the stage and introduce the panelists. Mr. Azam Ali Noon is currently the head of academics at The Educators, a project of one of the largest school systems, the Beaconhouse school system. Mr. Noon has an MPhil in education leadership and school improvement from the University of Cambridge. Prior to this, he completed his master's in education from Pennsylvania State University on a Fulbright scholarship. Mr. Noon has over a decade of working experience in the education sector, both nationally and internationally. His diverse experience ranges from classroom teaching, curriculum design, working as an educational consultant for public education programs with organizations such as Adam Smith International and FCDO, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Mr. Adam.
Thank you so much for that introduction, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the SOT edition 16. And today we're going to be having a panel discussion on virtual dreams navigating the metaverse. The concept of the metaverse, once a distant speculative fiction, is now rapidly becoming a part of our digital reality. This interconnected virtual space where users can interact with a computer-generated environment and other users promises to revolutionize how we socialize, how we work, and even how we perceive reality. As boundaries between the physical and digital worlds blur, the metaverse offers unparalleled opportunities for immersive experiences and new forms of collaboration. However, it also raises profound questions about data privacy, identity, and societal structures. This panel discussion will venture into the depths of the metaverse phenomena, aiming to decode its potential, its problems, and implications in our unknown future. Before we start, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists. To my left is Mr. Umar Nadeem, the founding partner at the Bard Lab. Umar is a founding partner, and over the last 16 years, he has led multidisciplinary portfolios focusing on digital technologies, education, health, governance, as well as the service industry. Over his career, Umar has worked across regions with assignments in Pakistan, Eastern Europe, East Asia, and Pacific, as well as Africa. At the Bard Lab, Umar has spearheaded organizational strategy and establishment of the thought leadership and advisory portfolios. He currently oversees the Bad Labs centers focused on digital transformation, education, skills in youth, and urban policy. He holds a Master of Public Policy from the Blavatnik School of Government, University of Oxford. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Umar. To his left, we've got Mr. Tehsir Ali, the Chief Financial Officer at Sada Pay. Tehsir Ali, fellow chartered accountant, certified accountant, and a CA as well, is one of the founding team members and the CFO of Sada Pay, a fintech that is bringing modern financial services to Pakistan in partnership with MasterCard. He served as chair and member of various Apex committees and has held finance leadership roles in alternative market funds, consultancy, microfinance banking, and digital financial services, working locally as well as internationally. Ladies and gentlemen, Tehsir. To his left, we have Mr. Yasir Bashir, who is a technology
Hi,
leader.
I'm Adam.
I will introduce you in just a bit. That was our digital avatar, Adam. I was introducing Mr. Yasir Bashir, who is the CEO at Arbisoft. Mr. Yasir Bashir is the founding CEO of Arbisoft, one of Pakistan's fastest growing software and technology development companies. In its portfolio of products, Arbisoft has VR atlases, games, and interactive simulations. Yasir has been an active contributor to the startup ecosystem in Pakistan and has served as a mentor and advisor at Lum Center of Entrepreneurship, Plan X Accelerator, Invest to Innovate, and Telenor Velocity. He has advised more than 100 startups in formal and informal capacities. Yasir is also the founding member of PyCon Pakistan. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Yasir. For the first time at the SOT, our last and not least panelist is an AI bot by the name of Mr. Adam. And we will be asking Adam some questions and hopefully hearing thought-provoking, profound responses from him as well. So without much further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get the show underway. My first question, I'll put Adam on the spot. Adam, could you please define the metaverse for us? Adam takes a couple of seconds to think. Adam's asking me to repeat the question. I caught him off guard. Adam, what is the definition of the metaverse? Adam is taking his sweet time answering this. Should we move on? All right. So we'll come back to Adam. Adam has a little bit of stage fright. What I'll do is...
The metaverse is a virtual reality space where users can interact with a computer-generated environment and other users. It's essentially a collective virtual shared space. Fascinating, isn't it?
Thank you, Adam.
The metaverse refers to a virtual reality space where users can interact with a digital environment and each other. It's like a shared online universe. Intriguing, right?
Thank you, Adam, for that response. So Adam has kind of like laid the foundation, but I am going to ask Mr. Yasir to elaborate on this question. Yasir, what exactly is part of the metaverse and what isn't?
So I think I found Adam's definition to be a little bit flawed. I think the definition for metaverse is much more generic than what Adam said. The three main technologies that have to be, or one of those three main technologies have to be the part of the metaverse in one way or another. And those are augmented reality, virtual reality, of course, which Adam mentioned, but also something called mixed reality. So mixed, and I can explain the difference between the three. Virtual reality would be where you're in an environment where everything is virtual, right? So you're wearing a headset and you don't see any physical objects. Augmented reality would be you are in a physical environment, but you're wearing a headset or a pair of glasses, like some people might remember the Google Glass, uh, which essentially puts labels on top of things. So it has augmented the information that's being conveyed to you. So if you look at a building, it can give you the building's address, kind of as a label floating on top. But the most interesting one is the third one, which is the mixed reality. In mixed reality, you have a physical environment, and then within that physical environment, let's say this room, you have virtual entities seamlessly blending into the physical environment, right? So you could be, if it was like an advanced mixed reality environment, I could be wearing my glasses, and one half of this hall would be physical people, and the other half of this hall could be avatars of people sitting in those chairs. And in an ideal world where metaverse will eventually go, it would be difficult to distinguish which half is the physical world and which half is the virtual world.
Yasir, thank you for that. And I'm sure as we hear this, that's such an exciting prospect and the kind of opportunities that lay within. So, my follow up question also from you is in your opinion, how is the metaverse redefining concepts of social interaction, work, and entertainment? And what opportunities does this present for businesses and individuals alike?
I think that's a great question. So I used to be a huge metaverse skeptic up until a couple of years ago. I've obviously been in technology for decades now, and I'd been doing virtual reality simulations for years. And I just thought it was just another hype cycle, right? Just another fad. But in the last couple of years, a few things have happened that have completely restored my faith in the metaverse and how it's going to be the future. So one of those things is 5G. One of the big problems with virtual reality is I'm sure you've all seen that the headsets are bulky. They're very, let's say, unuser friendly, and it's just not natural to use them. But 5G happened, and 5G allows very fast communication between a device and the computer, which means that all of the processing that was happening inside the headset to create those images could actually go to a computer, and you could be wearing very lightweight glasses that would blend the reality for you and make mixed reality possible. So 5G was one thing that started converting me a little bit. And then I saw a technology which completely blew me away, which really changed my perspective on the metaverse. And I'm very happy to report that the person who's creating that technology or creating that research is a Pakistani. And he also happens to be my namesake. His name is, so this gentleman's name is Dr. Yasser Sheikh. He's the head of the Meta lab at Facebook, and he's also a professor of robotics at the Carnegie Mellon University. So what Yasser is working on is something called a codec avatar. And what is a codec avatar? Remember I said that one of the problems with virtual reality was that the characters are unwieldy and they don't look like your actual physical reality. But if you look at the quality of a codec avatar, it is mind blowing. It is just like having, if they created my codec avatar, you wouldn't be able to tell a difference between me and that avatar. It's so much better even than compared with like those fake videos that you see. So Yasser's research is how do you take lots of images of somebody and create a real lifelike 3D representation of them. And if you look at some of the videos, you can look up Yasser Sheikh on YouTube and you can see his videos. But if you want to see a manifestation and you also want to see why this would change, there's a guy by the name of Lex Friedman that some of you maybe are familiar with. He's one of the most popular podcast hosts in the world. And Lex did a few weeks ago an interview with Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, who's obviously leading the metaverse revolution. And both sides, in that video, both people are actually not real. It's their codec avatars that you can see. And you'll see that the quality is so high that you can't tell the difference between physical people and those avatars. So why is it important, and why did it change my mind about why this is going to be revolutionary? Imagine 4 years from now, those lightweight glasses come in, and you click a button, and somebody is sitting right across of you in real 3D representation that you can't tell apart from a video. Why would you use your phone again, right? Why would you do Zoom again? I mean, video is much higher bandwidth requirement, but the quality is not like having the person in the room with you. So this is how communication is going to be transformed in 5 years. You can imagine a classroom, again, because this is School of Education, you can imagine a classroom where every student is sitting in some other part of the world, but their experience is exactly the same as it would be sitting in a classroom with other students. They can see the students, other students' body gestures, facial expressions are exactly how they would see them in a physical environment. So, why would that not transform the classroom? Why would that not transform communication? So, these two things, in my opinion, the advent of 5G and the work that Yasser is doing on codec avatars is, I think, something that's going to revolutionize the concept of the metaverse. If you listen to that interview between Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg, this is all they talk about. Here's the problem with codec avatars right now. To create like a very high quality codec avatar today, you need to be in a lab environment with 1,500, 2,000 cameras taking pictures of you, and then they are able to reconstruct your 3D version. But Yasser is working on technology which would allow you to take your phone, just basically wave it around you, take a lot of photos of yourself using your phone, and then it'll create that realistic 3D avatar.
Yasser, thank you so much. And thank you for telling us about these game changers, the 5G technology and the Kodak avatars. And the potential truly is, I can't put a ceiling on it, but where there is positive potential, there is also the potential to misuse these tools. So I have a question from Umar, which is where such positive opportunities exist. What are some of the potential negative capacities? Some the dark potential of the metaverse.
Thank you, Azam. I think Yasser laid out a really interesting use case for the metaverse, which is being able to provide high quality, consistent education for everyone, irrespective of their physical location, access to schools, teachers. And just like this, there will be a number of other use cases focusing on entertainment, connectivity between people, commerce, building and construction, design, retail. So everything that we do in the physical world right now, or which has already extended into the digital world through our phones and computers and the internet, could essentially be amplified manyfold in the metaverse. Now, because you've asked me about the dark potential of metaverse, that doesn't mean that I stand for limiting its use. I think just like every other innovation, from cars and road infrastructure to airplanes and trains and other mechanization, and then technology from internet and basic phones to smartphones, all the risks that we attribute or associate to potential negative uses of technology extend to the metaverse too. And so everything around data protection, user privacy, cybersecurity, online safety, bullying and harassment, everything that we now think is something to be cautious of would naturally extend to the metaverse. I think one aspect that would require a lot more attention is the amplification of all of those risks, because you're essentially merging the physical and the digital worlds. And so, one, the sheer number of interactions and data points that exist in the digital world are going to increase by a significant exponential factor. The other aspect around all of that is the regulatory frameworks and how they could potentially be implemented. So, should it be regulated? Absolutely. Do we know exactly how to regulate it? I think that's a long discovery cycle. we'll have to learn a lot while working through the metaverse, while letting it evolve, while understanding what happens. But I think the starting point for such regulatory frameworks is defining very clear principles. And there's a lot of progress on how we've tried to tackle digital interactions over the web right now. And so those principles provide the starting ground. How those will be implemented, how rigorously and robustly, I think we see exceptions and breakdowns of those principles every day on how platforms push content, how people interact, how identity and social engineering thefts cause issues. And so all of that will be as real in the metaverse. For me, an added layer of complexity would be, for example, legal jurisdiction. And right now, because of our physical interactions and transactions, you can actually specify places of transactions, country laws that will be governed. Liability could be attributed to actors because there are defined rules of engagement. And I think for the metaverse, that's going to fundamentally evolve and change. And it's going to be sophisticated, it's going to be complex, there's a lot of potential and upside. But how do we tackle and think through a lot of these issues would be really important. Another aspect of this is the value being attributed to investments and the market size of the metaverse. And for me, again, the really sweet spot is how do we maximize this intersection between the physical and the digital realm. And anything that's entirely virtual, or if we try to create economic opportunities and transactions that don't have intrinsic assets and value underlying them, I think that's again going to be a really complex territory to navigate in the metaverse. But again, as I said, I think like every innovation, and especially innovations that are being propelled at a very fast pace and at a very wide scale, policy will usually be catching up. And so I think the only way to keep a pulse on this is to actively think of the risks and the emerging challenges, not let them stop the innovation and the potential, but also make sure that we learn from what's happening and try to integrate that in the design and use of such opportunities.
Umar, thank you so much for that. In this case, technology and the phenomena is evolving so fast that we get a chance to reflect on policy practices perhaps after the fact. But I do want to explore the concept of jurisdiction because, well, geographical boundaries will limit my interaction with people, but the metaverse solves that problem. So my next question for Tesir is that in the metaverse, what do you consider some financial opportunities? And we were talking about this earlier today. I don't have a credit score in the US or in the United Kingdom, but I could potentially secure some financial service from them. What are your thoughts on this?
Let's start with. I would start with what Yasser said previously, and mention that how metaverse has the potential of actually blurring the boundary between what's virtual and what's physical. So we can have one side of the room which is physically present over here, the other side is just virtually present over here. And going beyond what Umar said, that how you would regulate it, what jurisdictions would apply, how local governments would see that. So I would just go past that and see what if metaverse has no geographical boundaries, if it transcends those boundaries, and what happens. So basically building on that, I'm sure everyone over here has WhatsApp or has Facebook on their mobile phones. Or अक्सर औकात ऐसा होता है we are speaking with someone, we are talking to someone regarding something that we want to buy, and we open the Facebook app, and the first ad that we see is that particular thing that we were talking about. Now, what's happening? Facebook is basically collecting your data. It's building your profile. It is trying to figure out how much you earn, how much you spend, how frequently you put money in, how frequently you take money out. And it's taking a bet. It's taking a bet whether you're a safe person to bet on or you're a slightly more riskier bet for them. The riskier the bet, the higher the premium it's going to be. And that's exactly what Metaverse could actually potentially do for us as far as financial services are concerned. I'm not going to talk about the bad aspect or the good aspect. I'm just talking about the business opportunity that it brings out. So every time you would interact, what is metaverse? So yeah, sir, my definition could be slightly flawed as well, but I do seek your forgiveness before that. So it is just that you are interacting in one space and that space is connected to another space. So you could be playing a game and you could have an avatar over there connected to a virtual office somewhere else, connected to a virtual classroom somewhere else, and it's all connected. And those interaction points are creating a profile which is online. There is someone out there, perhaps someone like me sitting in a financial services office and trying to figure out that can we monetize your presence over there? Do you need credit? Do you need to buy something? Do you need to store the value that you have created through your existence? Are you buying something? Are you selling something? Are you creating content for us? And that's where financial services can really transgress the boundaries. You could be over here sitting in Pakistan, interacting online, while your underwriter or the credit provider or the financial service provider could be somewhere across the globe, sitting in London or New York or Luxembourg or wherever. So that's the financial services potential that we have. It also brings out the potential of us trying to earn from that. So our freelancers, Pakistan is known to have the second or the third largest freelancer market right now. We're really dependent on the remittances coming into the country and the freelancers that bring the remittance into the country. Now imagine that they already have a playing field where they are interacting with these users, but then you open up a different universe altogether, a new market for them. So that's where the financial services potential really lies, that it could really open up the space for everyone to consume. One more aspect over here is that as far as Pakistan is concerned, so in the context of Pakistan, we are still the fifth or the sixth largest unbanked population. So most of our citizens do not have access to financial services. And for me, there are the underlying reasons are just three or four reasons. Number one, there are not enough financial service providers. I'll come to that. We see banks and we see financial service provider everywhere, but we still say that there are not enough providers. So I'll answer that as well. Secondly, the channel or the means through which these financial services need to be provided. Third is the literacy rate. Our people are not literate enough in terms of understanding what financial services are. So Metaverse creates that opportunity, but we would have to push through that opportunity in order to make that happen. Number one, we'll have to provide literacy to our masses. They need to be tech savvy in order to interact with the metaverse. It's not going to happen just sitting in a room and suddenly there's a new trend out there. It won't happen like that. I didn't know the true definition of metaverse, to be honest, till Yasser articulated it for me. I probably could have gone with what Adam had said very easily, but thank you, Yasser, for pointing out that was flawed. So likewise, once we have established that basic understanding of what financial services are, and we have established the means. So yes, the mobile or 3G, 4G technology in Pakistan is penetrating at a very high pace. But what are the use cases of that? So we have to sort of educate our people towards that channel as well. And then comes, sorry, I'll pick it up after. So, and then comes the point where we bring in financial service providers. Now, why do I say we do not have enough financial service providers? Is because in the most developed markets, we see peer-to-peer financial transactions, where one person is your lender, the other person is your borrower, and you just have a platform which helps to connect these two. We do not see that in Pakistan. And when we do see the advent of these services in Pakistan, we see exploitation and we see misuse of that credit given to that person. So this is where I think a lot of evolution can take place when it comes to financial services. In terms of business opportunity, that's massive. We're opening up a different world altogether, especially without any boundaries. So that's my take on it.
No, thank you so much, Tehseer, for talking about the Pakistani context and how we have, well, certain barriers before we can really embrace the metaverse or leverage the metaverse. But I did want to bring in an educational aspect as well to the metaverse. And I'll turn the question back to Umar, who was talking about kind of like, the idea or the actualization of the potential of the metaverse vis-a-vis education. Umar, could you elaborate on what the dream is, how we can leverage the metaverse for education?
Sure. Thank you. Um, so I think what the metaverse could be is how we imagine it to be. And so the limit eventually, after certain technological barriers are addressed, could really be how we use it, right? And what Yasser was talking about, even if we have a suboptimal mixed reality experience, and I'd go even as far as saying, even if we can leverage the virtual reality environment, um, we're going to be still much better off than where we are right now, just relying on physical infrastructure and in-person teaching and all of the challenges. So I think imagination is going to really drive some of those use cases and how we use them. So think of a child in rural Pakistan, and let's assume they have connectivity, and they have this gear that they can just put on. Um, and their entire environment for creating a school through that visual gear could be optimized to provide the best quality education without dependence on not having transport to get to school, parents feeling unsafe for girls to go to school, the school teachers not being there, the school not having boundary walls and functional toilets. And this isn't a sort of conservative or really risky view of the education system. This is what's happening in Pakistan in areas outside Islamabad and Lahore and Karachi. If you go and look at the state of education delivery in rural areas or tier 3 cities or tier 2 cities, these are the realities of public schools. And the learning outcomes that children achieve based on an education experience like this, we're one of the worst in the world on an average at a national level. And just to quantify that, for example, by age 10, what we call foundational literacy, which is children should be able to read a basic age appropriate paragraph and understand it, which is the basic building block for how they will continue to learn all their life by reading and absorbing and understanding. 77 out of 100 kids in Pakistan don't achieve that level today. And so this is the reality we're grappling with. Now, in such a context, a kid being able to just wear a visual gear and enter a virtual school where you have the best pedagogy and content packaged into a classroom experience, where the dialect is entirely local, where the peers or the students that the child sees in that environment sort of provide a feeling of belonging and community. And then they're able to interact and understand that content, take assessments, respond to questions, ask questions, and that entire delivery cycle could be packaged through this metaverse. Now, similarly, for example, medical treatment, you could have complex surgeries being pre-planned based on diagnostics of patients. For example, commerce or even construction, you could actually see 3D and as close to reality as possible designs of bridges and houses and buildings before you actually start constructing them. And so the opportunities are unlimited. How we focus on those use cases is really up to us. And regulations and policy frameworks can help guide that. They can help create barriers to certain use cases that will be counterproductive. But these are all the real possibilities. Some of the challenges that we might face are, for example, what we've already seen with extensive digital interactions. And again, I think Yasir can talk more about how mixed reality addresses some of those, but excessive interactions in the digital space in early years could be problematic, and we don't know the results of those. How that affects human behavior and psychographics and psychology, those are effects that we have to monitor. How our perception of the real world changes to a disadvantage could be a significant factor. And so all of these risks are what we hypothesize right now. And so, the challenge here is to really undertake calibrated and measured high opportunity and high impact use cases, and understand how this world is going to provide some of the solutions that we haven't been able to think of so far.
Umar, thank you so much for telling us that the metaverse can potentially be the great leveler, how it can essentially solve Pakistan's out of children panacea. I'm sorry, out of children problem, out of school children का जो हमारा एक बहुत बड़ा issue है, but also touching upon the issues that the next generation might face. I was in the company of a friend who just had a newborn. I'm so sorry, he was 2.5 year old, who was turning the pages of a book like this, swiping the pages of an actual book. So I want Yasir to perhaps elaborate on this a little bit. Immersion in the metaverse, it feels like it's going to become very real. And do you see any social interaction aspects of that for the next generation?
I think that's a great question. In an ideal world, we want all interactions to be physical, right? But there are limitations of that. Umar talked about some of those. Tessie talked about some of those. I would argue that how we are inundated with, or our children are inundated with digital right now. Metaverse is not going to be a replacement for physical interaction, but it is definitely going to be a huge, massive improvement over getting lost in a screen, right? That's why I say that my perspective on the metaverse changed because of mixed reality, not because of virtual reality where you're essentially not able to see the physical world, and not because of augmented reality, but because that feels unnatural. The mixed reality experiences are going to be as close to physical experiences that you want. And obviously the underlying assumption is that you don't have the physical opportunity available at all. I mean, to Umar's point, let's say you want to you're a student in a remote area of Sindh, and you want the lecture from the best physics teacher in Lahore. That physical interaction is just not going to happen. And even if it could happen, maybe you won't be able to understand what that teacher in Lahore is saying because you only speak Sindhi. In the metaverse, both of those problems are going to be solved. So there are two keywords here of technologies that will be mixed with the metaverse to make it really, really effective. One is this personalization aspect, right? So the teacher in Lahore will teach physics in however they teach physics, but the student will hear it in Sindhi. Because AI, we already know AI is already advanced where it can do real-time translations with the dialect, with all of the paraphernalia of sounding like a real dialogue. And the personalization aspect is there, and then obviously AI can fill in the gaps in understanding that a student would otherwise have in a physical interaction. So I would say in some ways it's going to greatly augment even a physical interaction, and in some ways it's going to compromise. You don't have the touch and feel aspect of the physical interaction. You're obviously not going to be able to hug your teacher.
Not that anyone should.
Yeah, so I think both aspects are there. One other thing that I would want to mention about the metaverse is that I think of, so there could be many definitions, there could be many ways of looking at the metaverse. I think of the metaverse as a much better interface to the internet. Our interface to the internet right now is the phone or the screen. So I only think of the metaverse being a massive, massive improvement in what the current interface is. And again, is this better than a physical interaction? That probably is never going to be true. Is it going to be a huge improvement over what we have today? Absolutely.
Thank you so much for that, Yasir. I like how you've put that. A huge improvement in the interface of the internet. So don't think of it in a completely alien new term, but an improvement of what we have. I want to take the conversation in a slightly different direction, and I'm going to bring Adam into the discussion again. So I'm going to ask Adam, why are more and more companies showing up on the metaverse? Adam is a very reflective bot, so he takes a little bit of time. He really lets the question marinate. So let me ask that one more time. Adam, why are more and more businesses and companies buying real estate in the metaverse? And this is the first time that any conference is hosting AI bots, and like any other technology, it'll take some time to refine and improve. Any luck?
I'm afraid there might be a mix-up.
Definitely.
The Mentalist is a popular TV show, not typically related to companies' appearances. Could you clarify? Businesses are buying metaverse real estate to establish a virtual presence. This allows them to engage with customers in innovative ways and explore new business models. Exciting times, right?
Absolutely exciting times. And I think the second time around, he got the question with more clarity. But I'm going to ask Yasser to elaborate on this a little bit. I know for a fact that Disney has shown up on the metaverse, that they've bought real estate on the metaverse. Nike has. Why would a company show up on the metaverse, and how do we interact with that company? Sir.
Yeah, so I think really good question, but I would maybe let me ask a counter question. Why does Disney have a website? Why does any business have a website? The thing is, again, going back to the interface example, if you are changing the way people interact with the internet, and you're a business, you want to be there, right? I mean, you want to have presence in the new interface that's being laid out, that arguably most people in the future would use to interact with the internet, to interact with each other. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer. Anytime there is an opportunity for a business to showcase what it offers, and it's a good business, it wants to be everywhere where people can potentially benefit from the business or learn about it. So imagine the future that we are talking about, and that future is not really that far, honestly. Yasser's research says that that camera-based personalized avatar would be here in 2 years. It's already been done in the lab. So let's say imagine that future where everybody is interacting with the internet using these new interfaces, and Disney is absent there, and some other brand is present. Disney, stands to lose out massively. So I think this question of why would brands or businesses want to be in the metaverse is, in a way, it's a bit rhetorical, right? I mean, anywhere where people are interacting with the digital or virtual world or a mixed reality world, brands and businesses want to have their presence.
Absolutely. I have a question, and I'm sure a lot of parents with teenagers or younger kids are thinking the same thing. And I was having this discussion with Tehsir earlier. In gaming, the metaverse has a very real presence because you're interconnected with other players. You're part of a team. But my generation, or perhaps the older generation, doesn't understand why you would spend any currency on a digital asset like a skin or a mod. Could you give us some insights into that?
So, can I share my thoughts
Please.
regarding your previous question
Yes, yeah.
of why someone would want to be on this virtual universe that is being created? So, few years ago when COVID happened, there was a reboot, basically. Reboot in terms of how we operate, how we would want to operate. And I know for a fact that we took schools to our online schooling, we took the office to our online office working, and that's what happened. Now, there is a big debate about fossil fuel and what is the future of fossil fuel. Would you be able to travel as much to a classroom, to a school, to an office? How would you do that? But you have to have that human interaction, otherwise there is absolutely no humanity left, in us. So the answer to that, the way I see it, it might sound a bit abstract right now, but I see in the future that metaverse is going to be a very real thing. that we will have, maybe not be able to touch it, but in a way sense it and feel it. Uh, you're definitely not traveling to a remote location. You're not traveling to an office location. You're sitting in your home and you're interacting with people through classrooms, through offices, and whatever. And during that channel or interaction, all these businesses would want to be present over there so they can actually offer their services to you. And those services will be catered in a manner that you can use them online, or perhaps maybe you can use them offline as well. I mean, and a good example again is Facebook. Once you talk about something, you open your Facebook account and there's an app, there's an ad, and maybe you were talking about this new pair of shoes and the ad's there, and you order that and you get that home delivered. So that interaction is an online interaction. Just imagine that interaction happening in a virtual reality, where you can actually pick the shoes up and twist it around and see what it looks like, and then you order the real stuff and it gets delivered. So that's why all the offices would like to be there, present over there. The other bit is, why would anyone spend on, why would teenagers spend on different skin for their online cars or gaming cars? So this is something interesting. It comes down to the behavioral aspect of human beings, that the more scarce that element is, the more privileged or the more entitled you'll feel to have that, and you will stand out. And everyone wants to feel good about that. It's just like posting something on Instagram and getting those likes, and you're checking your Instagram again and again to see how many likes you've received. So if I were to tell you that this particular mic over here that I have is different from Umar's or Yasir's, and this one is a bit more classy one, right? This is more expensive. So naturally, I would feel a bit more special, and that's where it comes from. So what gaming companies usually do is that they create scarcity around the product that they have generated. Now, this is just coded product. It's not real product, but they have created that scarcity that only X many people in the world would be able to own it. And that's where the rat race starts then. And everyone would want to spend money on that. Circling back, how it comes together is the currency of the metaverse is not going to be a physical Pakistani currency or the US dollar. It could be, you just have to name it, but it's more likely to be a cryptocurrency that we are now familiar with. And that cryptocurrency is going to be exchanged in the metaverse. Again, a business opportunity in terms of financials and in terms of creating that wealth, that this value once created in the metaverse would have to be translated and linked to an actual currency in the real world. There is already a concept of play as you earn. So there are players who are playing games and making money off it, and they would have to turn that money into real, actual, physical money that they can spend. Whether the real money goes away, that's a good question, because eventually maybe what happens that the money that you create in metaverse can be exchanged for real goods. There's a good possibility for that. So that's how I think the entire game is going to come together, where you have content providers creating content, you have exchange of value happening, and you have businesses present, because that's where the world is moving towards.
I like how you put something there. Perhaps we move the rat race from the real world to the metaverse. Umar, do you want to add something to that, please?
I think that's a high risk area for me, at least. And so, for example, just like this, you said there's a supply and demand dynamic at play at everything that's priced, right? And so you can try to create demand by offering supply, or you can then address demand by tapping into preferences and behavioral triggers and decision drivers. And I think there's an element of a virtual only asset class that's going to be created, because people are willing to spend money only on virtual assets that have no intrinsic linkages. So, for example, you can talk about training and education, and that's something that happens in the digital world, but you take the value and the dividends into the physical world. You have a store that exists, and you can look at products online in a virtual environment or a mixed reality environment. You can place your order, you can pay, and they're going to be delivered to your doorstep, right? And so all of these for me are essentially intersections of the digital and the virtual. But then and it's not sort of something that we think might not happen. For example, I don't know, gym memberships in the virtual world only. And मैंने 1 घंटे के लिए metaverse में workout किया है with no physical movement in the real world. Or for example, I can't afford a car in this physical world, but I buy a virtual version of that, and it's a digital asset that might appreciate in value 10 years later, and someone might pay for it. But those are the kind of non-intrinsic investments and locking of value and capital in the non-productive economic cycle. And so for me, that's a high-risk area personally.
Umar, I like how you're calling it non-productive, and perhaps Gen Z and onwards doesn't see it as that. Perhaps, if you've worked out an hour in the metaverse, that's the only workout that counts because your avatar gets that much more lean and fit.
Gamification applied to all of that, and you have these badges where you worked out for so many hours and ran so many miles or cycled for so many kilometers.
Absolutely. Sounds like an episode of Black Mirror. But what we can do is, I think, in the interest of time, we're drawing close to the end. Let's go over to some question and answers, questions that the audience has posed. So we've got a question. How can you draw the fine line between AI and virtual education, increasing accessibility versus triggering a substitution effect? Yasir, can I ask you to perhaps look into this one?
So I think I was thinking that Umar is probably a better person because he would understand what substitution effect means. But I'll venture a guess and think that, is the question, whoever asked it, is the question whether AI and virtual education going to replace teachers and traditional education? If that is the question, then I don't think that the role of teachers completely goes away. It's just giving teachers access to perhaps a lot more students than they previously had access to. I don't think AI is also at a place yet where the human element of teaching could be replicated. There's definitely something called humanness. I remember Steve Wozniak, who's like the Apple co-founder.
Yeah.
He was asked about AI taking over the world, and why it won't. And he said, "It's something which is fundamentally human, right?" And I have not seen a single implementation of AI where that humanness is present. So I don't think it's going to go away. I think it's going to give teachers a lot more access. And whenever, not in the last 20 years, in the last few centuries, every time technology has come along, it has facilitated the practitioners of a certain profession to do their job better and easier, and at the same time it has more things for them to do. So it's almost never happened that something came along and just quickly made the people who were already there redundant. In many cases, strengthened them, it created more opportunities for them. Now, I mean, if you're a teacher, just imagine you're teaching a class of 20 students, and those students are just in your class, and you essentially come to class every day and teach them. And suddenly, you've been told that now your lecture is going to 1,000 students all across the country. You're going to have to rethink your teaching methodology. You're going to have to maybe plan your lessons differently. You're going to have to do a lot more new work. And you have to stop worrying about how is this teaching or pedagogy getting across to those students. You're just basically more focused on, now how do I address those 1,000 students? So suddenly I think the excitement level increases. A lot of the routine or routinizable, which is a term that I really like, work of teaching will go away, but a lot more creative, exciting opportunities will pop up as well.
Thank you so much. So no one is going to become redundant, and just a little bit of upskilling perhaps on the part of the teachers is also required. We've got another question regarding the... Oh, of course, please.
Just wanted to share this actual real life use case. Now everyone's familiar. I think everyone will be familiar with ChatGPT and how it does content and everything, and how AI is coming into the play. So the company that I work for, real life examples. So we have certain individuals whom we call customer experience individuals. Now, what would happen that you would go online, you would put up, your question, and the customer experience person would answer that question. So we've recently just replaced that with AI. And what happens now is that when you answer, most of the questions are actually handled by the AI. But yet, we still have the customer experience people. We still have that human touch available because there's only a certain limit to what AI can do, at least for now. And then that person comes into play. So the way I think, and at least the way my company thinks right now, is that AI is a tool that makes you from a human to a superhuman. And basically, in order to bridge that gap from becoming a human to a superhuman, yes, you have to upskill. You have to know what AI can do for you. Will it replace you? I don't personally think at this moment in time, at least, I cannot think why AI would be able to replace human beings. But yes, we would need to upskill ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you for that elaboration. So this is another question that we have from the legal aspect, and it talks about Pakistan's legal system. Since we've talked about the downside of the metaverse, do you think that the Pakistani legal system is robust enough to address it? The regulation. Umar, do you want to take this one?
Sure. No, short answer, no. But I also think that for something like the metaverse, even more advanced legal systems are not yet equipped to deal with it because there's a new crop of challenges and risks and issues that we'll have to tackle. We're still lagging on basic stuff in Pakistan and even across a number of other countries, and so I think there's a lot more that we'll need to do to be able to really regulate or be at least closer to the curve, if not ahead of it.
No, absolutely. Like where we have issues of accessibility and roti kapda makan, those have to be addressed before we can start looking into the regulation of the metaverse. The next question that we have, again in the context of Pakistan, what do you see the potential of the metaverse with a specific focus on education, cost effectiveness? We have touched upon this a little bit, how it is the great leveler and how with generative AI, translations can happen in real time, access becomes that much easier. We can move on to the next one. Sorry, of course.
I think thinking where we are just in terms of the Pakistani context, the cost part, I think, is a metric that we can substitute, and what we should be thinking about is investment in education and the returns, both not just from an economic perspective, but also from a social and human perspective. That we really need to think about. And so, even if the cost goes up with the associated quality and universality, that's an investment lens, essentially, not really a cost lens.
Just to add to that, in some ways the cost can actually go down. So we talked about this, right? So you might want to invest in hardware, but at the same time, the cost of, let's say, interacting with avatars is much lower than, let's say, a video call in terms of the bandwidth requirements. So a Zoom call is way more expensive in terms of how much bandwidth it needs if you're in a remote area versus if you were interacting with an avatar, because that avatar is actually being rendered on your device itself and it's not being passed through the wire, right? So the general comment is that in everything, essentially the problems of the metaverse are a generalization or a specialization of the general problems of the internet. It's not posing any new problems. And a big one is identity, actually. So we talked about this also, right? You can easily have like a fake profile for a teacher on the internet. Like you could have like a fake profile as a teacher and you could be a quack teaching kids. That, in my opinion, especially with the, that I'm obsessed with the codec avatar thing, but for making a codec avatar for a teacher, you're going to need your face. Nobody can easily steal your identity and create a identical profile because they don't have your face. It's similar to, how you open your phone with your face and nobody else can open it. So the challenges remain the same. In some ways, they become better than what they have been. In some ways, they become worse. Yes, a smartphone is, you can get one in $50. The cheapest VR or AR device today is probably $500. So I think it's a mix of both.
Sorry, I'll just take 30 seconds. If you try to estimate the amount of funding needed to fulfill the basic requirements of children in Pakistan with respect to right now, I think it would be a really optimal cost comparison to invest in tech and gears that could do that. We're short of funding into the education sector by a margin that would scare most people here. And so when you have trade-offs like these, investments in tech and the scalability that they offer is really a very, very powerful proposition.
Wow, I like how we're sorry. Of
one,
course,
1 second off you, sorry.
No,
Extremely
of course.
important that I make this point. This is very close to my heart. हमें थोड़ा सा ना हमारे role switch हो गए. Umar is talking about costs, and I will mention a policy, maybe a food for thought on policy. Umar और मेरा background ये है, हम दोनों Beaconhouse के हैं, since kindergarten to A levels, और हम classmates भी हैं. So Beaconhouse has a very big role in what we have done till now in our lives. So the only thing that I would want to add in terms of education is that it is so yes, you have the delivery channel, metaverse, and online delivery channels, mobile phones, internet, everything's there. And I'm guessing we have teachers and educators in our audience as well. सिर्फ एक चीज़ I want to leave that is कि are we preparing our kids in terms of education for the jobs that might not exist in 10 years time, or are we preparing them for jobs that will be new to everyone in 10 years time? So if you have means of delivery through mobile phone, internet, whatever means you have, physical classroom, virtual classrooms, and if we are still beating the old drum, we are effectively keeping our population 10 to 20 years behind rest of the world. So all this will not matter then. Okay? So my request, please, let's start our kid. Let's prepare our kids for what's going to happen in the future, and let's start living in the future as it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think it's a very fitting close to this very engaging panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank our esteemed panelists. Please give them a round of applause. And I would also like to thank everyone in attendance. Thank you so much for being here, everyone.
That was an amazing panel discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Azam and the respected panelists. I hope you all enjoyed it. Respected audience, you can give your feedback on the session using the mobile app. Thank you.
आपका अभी नहीं ये सेशन एज इट इज ही
अच्छा सिर्फ उसका ऑर्डर चेंज हुआ है
उसका सिर्फ ऑर्डर ये आपका उससे लिखा हुआ है
While the internet offers a variety of news sources, it's crucial to verify information from reliable, reputable outlets. How do you usually fact-check news you come across online?
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 16th edition of School of Tomorrow events, Guardians of the Future, Shaping Tomorrow with Generative AI. The non-profit School of Tomorrow event series was launched by Beaconhouse in year 2000 to engage global communities in conversations that shape the future of schools and societies. I would like to thank Google for Education and their partner Tech Valley, the lead sponsor for School of Tomorrow 2023, and our titanium sponsor, United Bank Limited. Other key sponsors include My Backpack, MK Books, Allied Bank Limited, Habib Bank Limited, Wateen, and Interwood. We also thank our School of Tomorrow supporters, including Paramount Books and Nestle Pure Life, who have contributed to this year's event. My name is Mohammed Qasim, and I'm an IGCSE and A-levels mathematics teacher at Beaconhouse Poroha campus, Islamabad. Please take a moment to note these important housekeeping points. Please ensure your cell phones are on silent. In case of an emergency, the exit point is located at the back of this hall. You may use the staircase opposite to this hall. In case if it is blocked or packed, you may use the one on the right-hand side. Always stay calm and follow directions. Please use the SOT app to scan the QR code for session question answers and feedback. Share your thoughts on social media using the hashtags hashtag Guardians of the Future and hashtag SOT2023. If you need assistance, our ushers are here to help. For questions, please either use the flashcards provided by the ushers or the mobile app. The panel discussion will last for about 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes for question and answer. I would like to invite the moderator of the session, Mr. Asfanyal Kasuri, on the stage and introduce the panelists. Mr. Asfanyal Kasuri. As a tech entrepreneur and development sector specialist, he's dedicated to using technology for social impacts in Pakistan. He serves as the executive director of New Globe, a global leader in supporting governments to digitally transform public education. Mr. Kasuri is also a prominent advocate for legal tech-based reform, striving to revolutionize how Pakistanis access justice. He has directed programs focusing on humanitarian aid in post-disaster situations. Mr. Satpatha.
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. We are still waiting for one of our panelists, but I think she's on her way, so we'll get on with the introductions. Firstly, as you heard, my name is Isfandiar. Welcome to the 16th edition of SOT events, Guardians of the Future, Shaping Tomorrow with Generative AI. As a moderator of today's panel discussion titled Beyond the Hype, Pursuing Substance in the Age of Breaking News, it is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you all. Today's panel discussion promises to be an enlightening one about the very important role of a balanced and trustworthy news media in fostering an informed and peaceful future and building democratic institutions. Without further ado, I will introduce the panelists that have joined us here today. Sitting to my left, fellow panelist from yesterday, Memal Sarfraz. She needs very little introduction. She has been in the media since 2005. She is a co-founder of The Current, which is a really cool news and online media portal. She is also an analyst on the Geo News show Report Card, and she's also a co-host of Aurat Card, which is the first all-women's news channel in Pakistan. Commendable, that is. Sitting all the way at the end is Anilo Farkazi. She is a public policy specialist, and she is the author of Culinary Tales from Balochistan, a book that she published in 2022. I'm a witness to the hard work that she put into developing that, and it is ever so important and always underplayed, the importance of preserving our culture. And so we are very happy to have her with us. She has a video series also called Pakistan on a Plate. It explores the culinary heritages that have been mentioned in the book as well. Beyond that work, she's an anthropist. She works on disaster relief, has spent a lot of time in Balochistan, in Jafrabad, engaged in rehabilitation. She and I also have, I supported her petition. There is a NOTA petition in the Lahore High Court. NOTA stands for none of the above. We have been trying for some years to get that option on the ballot for any election there is. I don't like the Noon guy. I don't like the PTI guy. I don't like the People's Party woman. I don't like any of them. None of the above. Anyway, fingers crossed that might happen soon. Thank you for joining us, Manize. Nilo, thank you for joining us, Manize. It's okay. I heard you got a little bit lost getting in here. Manize Jahangir is obviously a renowned broadcast journalist, and she's an award-winning documentary maker. She hosts Spotlight with Manize Jahangir on Aaj TV. She's also a co-founder and editor-in-chief of VoicePK.net, a digital platform that is focused on human rights. She also serves on the board of the Asma Jahangir Legal Aid Cell, is a founding member of South Asian Women in Media, and a council member of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. Welcome. Last but by no means least, in the middle of all these powerful ladies, there's this young gentleman over there named Mohammad Saqib Tanveer, one of the men behind the curtains. He is a journalist with over a decade's experience. He has done production work and does so for Talat Hussain. He has been with Geo, Sama, Apta, Capital TV. He's a 2023 World Press Institute Fellow, a Shivning Fellow, and a Fellow in the US State Department's Emerging Fellows of Pakistan program. Saqib also is a fact checker, or he has a fact checker, and operates Factnama, so his own fact-checking portal, very relevant to our discussion today. Thank you, panelists, for joining us. We are all impacted by the news, even those of us who maybe perhaps a few decades ago stayed away from it. Once we started to get smartphones with small screens and then bigger screens, we started to get our news this way. Some of us adopted it really, really quickly, and we love the tech. And I remember myself, when I first used Facebook in 2008 or 9, I thought it was the most incredible invention ever. And I don't know when it went from being the most incredible invention ever to being something I was slightly addicted to becoming something that was slightly toxic, to becoming something that I don't want to use, but now I just can't help it. I have to use it all the time. The way we disseminate news has changed over time. And the polarization that we were discussing on a panel yesterday has, at least in some part, been fueled by the news media, as we know now. We all know that news media and content in general, it penetrates more people than ever before. So when it was the Nawai Waqt and Dawn newspaper, far fewer people had access to the internet. So we have greater access to information. If I want to know something about anything specific, what are the problems that the children of Sialkot have when it comes to the public education system, I can use the internet to find the news, to find the information I want, and develop a responsible hypothesis. But sometimes I'm not so concerned about the issue, and I get it from the news. And then I find out that, well, this news was correct and this news was not. It's difficult now. So while we have access to the information, things are a bit harder. And with the panelists today, we will try to find out how we might be able to better discern between what is accurate news, maybe know what is actually accurate news, and how to form an opinion, and how to avoid becoming victims of the fake news propaganda that proliferates all across the world. Indeed, in Pakistan, these days we are focused, our attention is focused on the Arab-Israeli conflict. And the first thing that came out of that was the topic of Israeli babies being murdered. And we all heard it on all the news platforms. And it came as a barrage. And anybody who wanted to say something different, they were checked by the international media. We still don't know. Some people, Piers Morgan more recently was saying, no, I reported a story. No one has said it's not right. So we'll start with you, Manize. Given this broad context of information that is out there, and information that we might ourselves want, how do we tackle fake news in the day we live in now?
Thank you so much for having me, firstly, and I congratulate all the organizers. And actually, I was not lost. I met so many people that I knew that I had to say hello. So I apologize for being late. But also, I think that this is a very important event because I think that it's important for people to meet and exchange ideas. So congratulations to you, firstly. Now, coming to your question, which was that how do we
tell the difference between fake news and real news right now when there's so much news?
There is this saying in Urdu ke jhoot ke paun nahi hote aur baki mein nahi hote. It can only go that far. And after that, people find out. We have struggled with fake news now in the last 5 years, more so with social media. Because I work on a digital media platform and I'm on mainstream electronic media, I have my own show. I've seen the difference, how fake news is so easily gobbled up and swallowed on social media. But on mainstream, for example, there are checks and balances. Whatever you may say about the mainstream, yes, there are problems. I agree to all of them. But there are checks and balances. And those checks and balances, because it's a professional environment, they come into play. The other problem that we were having is that some of our leaders were becoming like they were walking, talking fake news themselves. They were lying to the public. They were giving incorrect information to the public. They were giving such incorrect information that it was laughable. And then what do you do about that fake news? You have to go and investigate that fake news. So I also think that when you create an environment which is now in the electronic media, it permeates through the social media. At the moment, there are lots of restrictions on mainstream media. For example, you cannot take Imran Khan's name. So tomorrow, if something happens to him, we cannot even say that this person has been affected. Now, this is not for the first time. I know a lot of PTI think this is the first time it's happened in Pakistan, but it's not. It began with Altaf Hussain in recent history. I'm not going to go back many, many years when we were younger, but in recent history, when it started with Altaf Hussain, the ban began with Altaf Hussain. And then it was taken to the Lahore High Court. There was a freedom of expression writ petition that his lawyers had filed. And the plea that they took was that this is against free expression. You cannot ban a human being. You can ban speech or something that he says, but under no law in the world can you ban a whole human being without, because उसने अगला क्या करना है आपको क्या पता, तो आपने पहले से ही उसकी हर चीज पे बैन लगा दी. So that was the plea that was taken. Then in 2018, similarly, Nawaz Sharif was banned. And now Imran Khan. So this has been ये तसलसल चला आ रहा है. Secondly, I think that we have also been restricted from telling the truth. So, for example, I was in Afghanistan and I went and interviewed the Taliban. This is long before the takeover of Kabul. And it was a very difficult interview to get. And obviously, there were dangers involved. And we took that risk. And we went to the suburbs of Kabul and we interviewed him. When I got my coup and I came back to my station and I said, yes, tonight we will air the interview. And it had, we put it out on the social media that it's going to be aired, this, that, and the other. And it was Nawaz's government at that time. Suddenly, it all went to ads. I had started the interview. It had gone on for like maybe 2 minutes and then it suddenly cut to ads. And I got a phone from my editor saying, they have called and said that this interview cannot make it on air. And I said, why? Because right now you are saying that the Taliban are friends. There are some people that we are supporting. If they are your friends, why can't I ask them these questions? I went and complained, and at that time there was a delegation of us, which included senior journalists like Hamid Mir, etc. And they said to the information minister at the time that, why have you done this? And he turned around and said, nothing is in our hands. The dharnas had started and the political government was now much weaker. And they turned around and said, now things are slipping out of our hands. So he said, beta, aap phoolon ke upar na koi documentary bana de. ऐसे कर ले. So मुझे तब रियलाइज हुआ कि वो क्यों चाहते थे कि ये इंटरव्यू बैन हो, बिकॉज उसके अंदर जो तालिबान का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू था और जो उनका एक्सपीरियंस था विद द इंटरैक्शन विद द पाकिस्तान स्टेट, they didn't want that to come out. So what I'm saying to you is that when you create that environment, these restrictions, okay, and if you look at our constitution, I'm linking it. So Article 19 says freedom of expression is allowed, but it's conditional. It's conditional upon what? You cannot say anything against the judiciary. You cannot say anything against the armed forces. You cannot say anything against friendly countries. अब वो कौन है, वो कब तालिबान हमारे दोस्त थे, कब हमारे दुश्मन थे, क्या पता. And you cannot say anything also against the ideology of Pakistan. Now, consistently, I have been now in the media for now 22 years. Consistently, each year, I have asked the new information minister, please define to me what is the ideology of Pakistan. And to this day, none of the information ministers, elected people, have been able to define it. So अब हमसे क्या कह रहे हैं, हमने किसके पैरामीटर्स पे आना है? उसके पैरामीटर्स पे आना है जो हुकूमत में आया है और यहाँ पे अपनी बनवाना चाहता है. Is that the parameter that we are going to follow? Or are we going to follow the parameter of the truth, which is what we owe to our viewer? So I think that these things have to be corrected. हमारा मसला फेक न्यूज़ नहीं है. हमारा मसला पाकिस्तान में जो बाकी लोगों से ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ ये सब जगह चलता है, होता है. I've worked with the Indian media for 12 years. I've worked with the BBC also. ये हर जगह होता है. And there are mechanisms that as journalists grow, they develop. There was a time when we used to show, live breaking में आ जाता था कि धमाका हो गया, और ये नहीं कि हम चाहते थे कि हम दिखा दें. उस जमाने में ये होना शुरू हुआ in 2009 that there used to be a blast. We used to send our TV cameras and our reporters, and right in front of our cameras there was another blast. It was not that we had orchestrated that, but that is how they were drawing in people and then killing more people. That was the strategy, and we got to know about it, and we saw the trend, and then we started pulling back our camera people. But at the same time, I remember going to a blast site, and there was a woman who was carrying her child, and मैंने कहा ये मैं दिखा नहीं सकती. And she looked at me, she said, खून मेरा है, दर्द मेरा है, और आप देख भी नहीं सकते. So I think ये जो conversations है ना, they need to happen with journalists on their own. But what we are struggling with right now is not that these conversations, that we are even given the space to have these conversations. We are firefighting right now. We are firefighting to get the truth out to you. And we are being constricted by even the Constitution of Pakistan to get the word out to you.
Heavy. So, I mean, I guess we are in the digital age, but the problem that Manize is highlighting is one that dates back to before the digital age. I remember a time when I was young when the only source of news was 9 p.m. Khabarnama. And you can only imagine what news that was. And in that day and age, we all took it so seriously. Bhai, Khabarnama hai, sab chup ho jaye, the gospel is coming. And now we have all these outlets, but Manize is talking about censorship that literally exists inside of the Constitution itself. And so this is definitely something we should consider. It kind of predates fake news. And sadly, for our country where we find ourselves today, it is just another example of how we have failed to move out of the 20th century and be able to tackle 21st century problems. I mean, I was thinking when Manize said, Memal, that fake news is not our issue. Perhaps Manize was referring to Pakistan mein fake news is not so much of an issue. I remember the first bit of fake news that really struck me as fake was the WMD news in 2001 and 2, and they said that there will be all these WMD, and every responsible news outlet in the world, New York Times, Washington Post, BBC, sab us kahani pe aage nikle. Do you believe that they did it knowingly, that they were spreading a false story? And if so, could it be fair to say that, you know, fake news existed even before and has been peddled even before the technology itself?
Well, the thing is that some of them may have known, but mostly the one issue was that they actually bought what the establishment was saying, their establishment. So that's the thing, and it happens here a lot.
Yes.
So whatever the establishment tells you, people think, oh, we have access to this information. This must be correct. This must be the gospel truth. But as it turns out, most of it is fake. Even if they provide you with papers, files on politicians, a lot of those things are just made up. And but they want you to spread it because they've given you the task, and now it's your time to actually, if you have a television show, you'll talk about it on there. If you have a YouTube channel, you'll actually talk about it in your vlog or wherever you can. I mean, you can use Twitter and all that. So there's that. But I do think that, Maniza didn't completely say that, fake news is not an issue here. She talked about fake news on social media. And that is a huge problem in Pakistan. That, there is so much disinformation. So of course, we have to make a distinction between a mistake, misinformation, disinformation, fake news, propaganda. Because one thing is that, if I'm sitting here and I say something, the population of Pakistan is 15 crore or something. And that's, of course, not true. But it's just like a typo or it's a mistake that, I made it while I was talking. It's not something that I did deliberately to spread fake news. Then there is disinformation, proper fake news, which is basically a part of a malicious campaign. You know it is fake, you know it's not true, but you're spreading it for whatever reason, for your vested interest, to actually for an agenda, you're working on something. There's that. I mean, we've seen that in the last 5 years, especially when it comes to media organizations or journalists, that, one political party especially targeted a lot of journalists and media organizations, discrediting their work. So it wasn't what Mehmet Safraz is saying or what Munize Jahangir is saying. Because we are critical voices or we've been criticizing them objectively, but they don't like us because their policy was you're either with us or against us. So they start discrediting us. Lifafa, paise leti hai. No evidence whatsoever. But the thing is, anything that Mehmet now says will be discredited because we've spread it far and wide on social media. We've said things about her. Doesn't matter what she's saying, even if she's saying something in our favor. Memal is saying is it must be a sellout. I mean, must be lying, must be propagating noon league ka ya People's Party ka propaganda. ये वाली बात है. So this is something that that happened. I mean, I'll tell you another example of fake news, which was, I don't know why it was done, but when Fawad Chaudhry was arrested for the first time, and Fawad is a very old friend of mine before he joined politics and everything. So I was with him in the hospital, in the court. अच्छा उसके बाद क्या वो मेरा क्लिप वायरल हो गया कि आई एम इन द हॉस्पिटल टॉकिंग टू हिम. हाँ हर जगह खबर चल गई. उसको वो पूछ रहा था एंड आई वाज टॉकिंग टू हिम एंड सडनली ट्विटर वाज अबाज विद दैट आई एम हिज सिस्टर इन लॉ. मैं हिबा फवाद की जो वाइफ है, मैं उसकी बहन. वहाँ किसी ने ये ट्वीट कर दी और किसी ने ये बात जो है, somebody said that to my husband, Mehmal is Hiba Fawad's sister. He said कि she's my wife. She's not related to Hiba anyway. Like कहीं से दूर से भी उसकी कोई रिश्तेदारी नहीं. उन्होंने कहा आपको नहीं पता होगा, आपसे छुपाया होगा. मतलब मेरी बीवी है, मैं उसे 15-16 साल से भी जानता हूँ, 7-8 साल से हमारी शादी हुई है. Why would she have? उन्होंने कहा नहीं. सो ये वो इतनी फैल गई कि a lot of our relatives जो दूर दराज के होते हैं, मेरे जो है इन लॉज में, और वैसे भी, और दोस्त भी कई, और वो कह रहे हैं वाकई कहीं कोई है, मतलब हाफ सिस्टर है, स्टेप सिस्टर है, सिस्टर क्या है. सो ये एक ट्वीट जो के बाद में इतनी फैल गई, ये इस तरह से होता है. एंड अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल डोंट बिलीव अस इवन नाउ इफ आई टेल देम कि नहीं भाई मेरी कोई रिश्तेदारी नहीं है, बट ये चीज हो जाती है. सो इस तरीके से द प्रोपेगेंडा थिंग वर्क्स, एंड इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन टुडेज digital age, especially because we talked about the pros and cons of social media yesterday when it comes to the Israeli and Palestine conflict. There's a lot of fact checking. There are a lot of videos coming out about Palestine that mainstream media wouldn't show you. But there are also the cons, and the cons are fake news, how to check it. And also in this whatever, I mean, the breaking news concept is also there for not just for the electronic media, but also for digital media out. Always a race. अच्छा ये खबर आ गई है, somebody has tweeted this, without verifying it they'll just publish it. बल्कि digital में कितना जल्दी हो जाता है. But we at the current wait and verify and then we publish it. ये नहीं होगा कि अभी आई है वीडियो और बगैर मैंने चेक किया. And there are so many tools. I mean, Saqib can tell you about those tools. There are a lot of people are now actually training media organizations. Media Matters for Democracy जो है असद बेग और सदफ बेग की, actually they do wonderful training. They have a toolkit, proper toolkit on fact checking and how to check disinformation, counter check it, how to check claims and counter check them. और ये बहुत जरूरी है because जो fake news है, we've seen that कि ये इलेक्शंस में खास तौर पे जब इलेक्शन होने वाले होते हैं बहुत तेजी से फैलती हैं. ये हमने इंडिया के अंदर भी देखा है. कम्युनल राइट्स भी जो हैं वो सोशल मीडिया की फेक न्यूज़, व्हाट्सएप फॉरवर्ड्स के ऊपर हुए हैं इंडिया के अंदर. इस तरह की चीज़ें होती हैं. पाकिस्तान के अंदर भी ये चीज़ें जो हैं बहुत ज़्यादा अब उस तरीके से यूज़ होंगे. दिल बी वेपनाइज्ड. सो इट्स ऑलवेज इंपॉर्टेंट टू फैक्ट चेक, टू वेरीफाई. गूगल पे इतनी चीज़ें, आप जैसा इमेजेस है, मतलब एक छोटी सी चीज़ है, फ्लड्स थे, फ्लड्स के अंदर देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ वीडियोस सर्कुलेटिंग अबाउट 2010 की फ्लड्स की वीडियोस, ठीक है ना. दे वर नॉट रीसेंट फ्लड्स की वीडियोस 2022 की. You can just fact check, you can actually just put it on Google, check के कहाँ से वीडियो वो पुरानी है नहीं है, सबसे पहले कहाँ शेयर हुई थी. बहुत easy है because if you spread fake news, ठीक है, आपको views मिल जाएंगे, सारा कुछ हो जाएगा, but you will lose your credibility. And credibility for journalists, for a media organization is the most important thing. So I think ये important है कि we should also realize कि हाँ views मिल जाएंगे, कुछ मिलियन व्यूज मिल जाएंगे, पैसे भी बहुत लोगों ने यूट्यूब पे तो ये बहुत चीज हुई है कि इतनी फेक न्यूज उन्होंने फैलाकर वीलॉग्स कर इतने पैसे लोगों ने कमाए हैं. शायद वो पैसे की वजह से करते हैं, बट you eventually lose your credibility. It's not worth it.
I can think of many people in the media who I would think have lost credibility, but they have millions of followers. Anyway, Saqib, आपने तो production का काम किया हुआ है. You work with these anchors, and so I have an idea that production is the backbone and the thought process of what goes into every show that you do. And so a lot of this responsibility of fact checking and making sure the story is objective falls on your shoulders. Must be a lot of tension because मैंने तो देखा है कि there are anchors who are trying to be neutral, and if they give a post against one government, For instance, suddenly they will get called an Imrandu by someone, but then the next time they will post in favor of Imran Khan's human rights, and suddenly they will be, calling him an Nawaz Sharif supporter or something like that. And so, a lot of the audience is not educated. So they come in at separate times. I remember my own mother used to be in a political party, and 8-10 years later, she makes a tweet and someone says she's still in that political party. How did she make this tweet? And it's like, get with the program. So people don't know, awareness come hai, aapne responsibility or objectivity dikhani hai, and you have to make sure you don't publish any fake news. How do you do it?
So, I'll give you a very recent example. I think it was 2 days ago or 3 days ago, CM Punjab was visiting a graveyard or something like that. So, and there was a red carpet rolled out for him. So Talat sent me a message and he said, can you verify if this photo is true or not? So we sat and we started doing the reverse image search and everything. And after 5 minutes, we found out that this was released by the Punjab government itself, and we informed it to him. But even then, we still have some sort of doubt that even Punjab government could have made a mistake or something like that. So this is this inbuilt skepticism that we have as a journalist, that we question everything. I remember when I started my university and we were taught journalism, our teacher told us that if your mother tells you that she loves you, verify it. That's the mindset that we are supposed to have. We have to question everything. But I really want to go back to what you said, that if fake news predates technology or not.
Yeah.
I think it predates humanity, actually. Hazrat Adam, he was expelled from the heavens because of a fake news, because the devil came to him and he gave him the fake news. So it's as old as humanity is. And for me, when on a panel like this, when journalists are asked if fake news is a journalistic problem, for me, it's not. It's a societal problem. Journalists are, it's a huge opportunity for us. I love fake news. If there weren't fake news, if there wasn't a vacuum of authentic information, I would be out of business. I would want that there's more and more fake news. So people come to me and say, yaar, sach kya bata de. So that's why I think, yeah. And also coming back to your point of feedback, people throw a lot of terms at us, fake, like lifafa or everything. We as a journalist, I think we also have to be cautious of the feedback that we are receiving. We have to be very selective in the feedback that we get. Not every person can come to us and say that you are a fake news peddler, or you or आप जो है नून लीग से लिफाफा लेते हैं. I think we have to be very cognizant of the fact कि हमने feedback किसका लेना है. I can give you an example of let's give you example of Talat's Twitter account. He doesn't use it. I use his Twitter account. So he doesn't know what people are commenting about him. So that does not cloud his views when he tweets it again. So, for example, if he's tweeted something against Imran Khan or Nawaz Sharif, and there are people who are accusing him of being pro Nawaz Sharif or pro Imran Khan, it does not cloud his next tweet. Otherwise, if he would get that feedback, I'm sure he's a human. He would say, यार, पिछली बार मैंने इमरान को ये कहा था, मुझे इसको balance करना है. So we make sure that there is a filter placed, and we make sure that the feedback that needs to get to him, it gets to him.
So he tweets himself.
Yeah. No.
But he doesn't look at the feedback.
No. He sends me the tweet. He does not have a Twitter app in his mobile phone. Okay. I post it, and then he gets the replies, and then we share only replies that concern him. If I were to give an example, we only share like 2 or 3 replies per month. We don't get a lot of good comments. So yeah. But that's how it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
That's how it is. You have to hold true to your principles, even if the opinion goes against you.
Absolutely.
I suppose that would be something a journalist does. Nino, you are the citizen journalist, I suppose, policy activist like me. I have my frustrations with the media and issue-based content being less than I desire. Focusing on the real problems of Pakistan as opposed to what, private charter the former prime minister has returned to Pakistan on, or what's happening in somebody's house and witch doctoring and, all the crazy stuff that kind of is sensational and takes up a lot of space in the media. I want to know when the government teachers will start teaching in the government schools so that the children of Pakistan will have a brighter future. I'm not interested in whether it's Altaf Hussain in London doing something or whatever. How do you balance this? I mean, I know you also have been you do guest analysis on Al Jazeera and other platforms. What do you think of our colleagues here and the way they tackle their work in the media?
In the last couple of years, I've primarily focused almost every kind of interest of mine to Balochistan, for the reason that there's no news, there's no fake, there's no you have no information on Balochistan. The last news that you received was an attack on Gwadar, and these many soldiers were killed, or there was a protest, in here, or these many X were martyred over here. What do you know about Balochistan? What do you know about the people of Balochistan? The news, whether it's breaking news or the hype or the fake or the content, I can very easily, with great confidence, say here and here, the content of that part of Pakistan is very low in priority, and hence its analysis, its factoring into the public discourse is exactly in that priority. And hence, in a tiny way, whether it's relief work or writing, so the activism has to come along with writing. And I'm very thankful to the Friday Times and Raza Rumi in particular, giving me the space that if I want to write 14 articles on one district of Balochistan, he gives me that space, because no one else is. In all the platforms, in all the variations. So what we call hype and the analysis that we are giving, we are actually talking about a very small part of Pakistan in terms of land. It may be the majority of the population, but it does not include 44% of of Pakistan, Balochistan, and probably also FATA and what is called the blackout areas. I find social media, with all its problems, at least has provided an opportunity for individuals who do have access to the internet, who do have access to a phone, and many women don't. It's almost culturally impossible for them to have a phone. But those who do have internet and Wi-Fi and all have a platform in which that they can articulate their perspective, point of view. So, for example, the PTM, Pakistan, the Tahaffuz movement, no one would have known them, Pakhtun Tahaffuz movement, unless there was social media. It's only when they came to Islamabad, then journalists came to meet them, etc., and who's, Manzoor Pashteen, etc., etc. So, and there are other voices as well, where for whatever reason, whether it's self-censoring or, how the environment that we do exist, the reality check, so to speak, does not allow information and dialogue and discussion to the audience, but also the so-called analysts and those who are the carriers of information and analysis. I mean, if you profile actually who are on television, where do they come from? What is their social background? What is their language background? It is 80%, maybe 85% from one province. And that is just not a reflection of the diversity and the point of view of Pakistan. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much, the Beaconhouse and the School of Tomorrow. It's very, very important that the younger generation think and question whatever kind of information that you are accessing, whether it's social media or the print or the visual. And one hopes that you are equipped with tools to be able to at least begin the process of questioning and thinking that which you are being presented may or may not be fully accurate or the full picture or the full story. And I think if we are able to have a generation of people to discern that this is just a launching pad for a wider inquiry into that subject matter, we will be in a better place in the next generation.
It's a great perspective. There is this idea that in the digital age of media, we live in an echo chamber. In fact, it is more than an idea. The moment I try to buy a plane ticket to go somewhere, for the next month, I'm getting the ads for that same destination from all those airlines. It's far more nefarious when it comes to political viewpoints. You know, at first, I also, right in the beginning, thought that, oh my God, my worldview is the right worldview. Everyone I know is saying that exactly the same thing that I believe. And then, you know, a point is where you meet someone and you say, and you talk to them and you think that person is rational, intelligent, and they say something completely opposite to what you believe. At first, it can be annoying. You can get a little bit frustrated. But then I think it is a responsibility on all of us, something that has been alluded to in this discussion, that we use our own brain cells and challenge our own values and viewpoints as objectively and neutrally as we possibly can. And then maybe fake news will become a bit easier to digest. But the thing before I come back to the panel, there is one panelist who, you know, I'm still struggling to decide whether the AI should be treated with the same respect as all of us. I was in a panel, a chat GPT panel, and I wasn't quite sure after that discussion whether the AI, you know, the AI's feedback is really important, but I suppose we'll give it one go and then the panelists can share with us whether they think the AI is sensible or not. So her name is Sarah. Hi, Sarah, how are you? I have a question. In fact, one of our audience members has a question, and I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit. Sarah, can you tell us if there is one news piece or subject of the news in Pakistan that the media is unable to talk about today? Oh, sorry, that was on me. It's still a work in progress. Shall I ask the question again? It looked like it was on screen. Okay. So flashing is mute. Now unflashing is. Sarah, can you tell us if there is one piece of news or subject of the news in Pakistan that the media here is unable to speak about?
As an AI, I can't monitor real-time events or restrictions. However, freedom of press varies globally. What specific topic are you interested in?
The specific topic we are interested in is Parachinar. Why is the media not allowed to visit
Apologies for the incomplete message. Could you please specify the topic you're interested in exploring within Pakistan's media landscape? I'm sorry, but as an AI, I don't have real-time data access, so I can't provide current information about Bara Channel. Could you provide more context?
it's a perfect response because this is the exact response that you will get when you ask a government minister. This is the same they would say.
Yes, yes. I think you just made a case for Maryam Aurangzeb being replaced by Sarah the AI. Okay, okay. Would the panelists care to comment on a story that?
Without specific details or context, it's challenging to provide a SOT.
Is she gone now? Okay. Thank you, Sarah, but no, thank you. Would the panelists care to comment on a subject that is unable to be discussed on the broadcast media here today at the School of Tomorrow conference?
I would love to see Sarah interview Firdaus Ashikawan. I would love to see Sarah interview, others that I would,
Yeah.
that, and it would be very interesting for me to see that. So, dekhe, you can have all of this, but there is something called emotional intelligence also. I remember reading those stories which I grew up on of, where you began with the human interest and you say that here is this woman sitting under the sky, looking up, having this feeling. Yeah, and those were the stories that really interested me in telling the stories of the people. And we began with that under General Musharraf's rule when I first came into television. And we were the first kids to come into television. And then suddenly, Sheikh Rashid's statements became far more important than the story of the person. And we saw statement journalism rise. Now, what we are seeing is that areas that we were allowed to report from, Waziristan, South Waziristan, Parachanar, even some areas of Bajor, our reporters have been ejected from this, physically told to leave. Right now, since the caretaker government has come, there has been bloodshed in Parachanar. None of us know about it. Why not? Not because we haven't tried to access the story, we have. But nobody is allowed to report from there. There are some local reporters who report मगर डर डर के कि अभी पता चल जाएगा तो हमें निकाल देंगे, घर हमारा जला देंगे. So it's not that the media is not trying to report. Balochistan, you mentioned Balochistan. शुरू में जब rating meters आए थे, so I remember there were these, tied gentlemen who used to come with these iPads and say कि ये देखो, इधर तुम्हारा ऊपर जा रहा था तो कौन बोल रहा था, इधर नीचे जा रहा था तो कौन बोल रहा था, जहाँ नीचे जा रहा था उस guest को कभी नहीं बुलाना. It was simple as that. And I remember that I'd interviewed at that time Yusuf Raza Gilani, and I was at Express, but on the other show, suddenly this thing was going up, graph. So he says, इधर कौन था, और इधर तो प्राइम मिनिस्टर था, उधर कौन था. So I think जी उधर ट्रांसजेंडर्स एक दूसरे के कपड़े फाड़ रहे थे. तो उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि देखे ना वजीर आजम को भी कोई नहीं सुनता. तो you see, there was a time where media became obsessed with ratings. And then after that came social media. Let me give you also a little bit about who really owns these TV channels. Very important to understand that. Before, the TV channels were owned by people who had newspapers, etc. So they were interested in the news. Like if you went and spoke to an editor, they would be interested. Now, a lot of TV channels are owned by property tycoons who either there is a business interest in there or there are other interests. And so the role of the editor is gone. And they don't feel the need to have the role of the editor or जो भी आया है या किसी की सिफारिश है या किसी की नहीं है. So the whole landscape has changed. But in the beginning, when they started putting rating meters, why did we show Altaf Hussain so much? The reason was that there were 200 meters in Karachi. और अगर पूरा बलोचिस्तान भी मिल के आपका शो देखे ना तो एक भी वो नहीं आएगा rating. Because there were no rating meters, not a single one. And when I used to do a show on Balochistan, my producer used to come like this in the, into the office. Please, madam. Please, madam. So there was, this was done. मैं आपको ये समझाने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ how the state has brought in censorship, how the state has peddled fake news. You talked about WMDs; those stories were fed. You don't think the stories are fed to us every single day? Two militants were killed. Who were these two militants? What about ke police ne every day there is a target killing in extrajudicial killing in Karachi by the Sindh police? Who are these people? So I think we as journalists have learned more, and when I've worked with the Indian journalists also, I've realized that we as Pakistani journalists do not trust our state, and we have good reason not to trust our state because of these reasons. And because of that, journalists across Pakistan push for the truth. Now, what happens to them when they push for the truth? Several of our journalists have been picked up. This remains today one of the most dangerous countries for journalists to operate. One of our producers has been picked up, has been threatened कि अगर तुम ये खबर करोगे तो तुम्हें मार देंगे. तो ये जो अब इन्होंने हमारे लिए पैरामीटर बनाया, and I want to go back to the PEMRA ordinance because for the purposes of your topic, it's very important. The recent PEMRA ordinance, the amendment that has come into it was done very cleverly. On the one hand, journalists were told that you will be able to get your salaries on time. तो हमें वो थोड़ा सा शहद उन्होंने मक्खियों के लिए डाल दिया. उसके साथ साथ उन्होंने मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन की डेफिनेशन इतनी वेग कर दी कि वो किसी टाइम भी आपको उठा सकते. They can arrest you. So we said to them that, look, when people make laws, they make specific laws, and they make laws to stop a criminal activity. You do not make laws because you fear that there is something that's going to happen. And you do not make laws that are vague because those are bad laws. And under that, they're in a state like Pakistan, they will be misused to curb freedom of expression. So please do not do it. And we went and pleaded with the government. Please do not do it. But they did. And similarly, with the previous government, with the PTI government, they did the same thing. What we had also demanded was to protect all of this under the Journalist Protection Act was, and I was part of that committee, that you will have a committee which will sit within the parliament and it will look at these issues. Now the law has been passed, it has been several years now. That committee has not been formed. So our journalists, when they are picked up, where do we go? Who do we speak to? And when they throw Article 19 in our face and say sedition, so many of our journalists have been slapped with sedition. What do they trace it back to? Article 19. And Article 19 itself is so vague. Friendly countries, ideology of Pakistan. What is this? Glory of the judiciary and glory of the armed forces, which is so deeply involved in politics. तो आप हाथी के बारे में ही नहीं बात कर सकते, तो आप क्या बात करेंगे? एक journalist who was picked up, he said to me, बीबी, मैं जहां भी पाँव रखता हूं तो वो नीचे से निकल आते हैं. आप कहते हैं कि हम इसके ऊपर रिपोर्ट ना करें, तो फिर हम क्या करें? So I think that these things have to be also looked at very carefully. The rest of it, how people attack me on social media, I have no problems with. They can attack. The day that they don't, I get worried. Oh God, what have I done that nobody's talking about it? So I think that when they attack us, that's not a problem. Journalists have a thick skin. We've been through reporting now. 20 years of reporting. You go through war zones, you go through this. This is not a big deal for us. We can handle it. We have mechanisms to do it. But what we cannot handle is a state that is adamant on seeing, a state that is hiding the truth from its own citizens, and a state that has created a structure whereby only the people in power can control the information. That is what is unacceptable to us.
Thank you for being so brave. We have 6 minutes left, but that was a very important statement, and I'm totally behind it. Look, the truth is what it is. We are living in some kind of an Orwellian state, and the journalists who are supposed to be the bulwarks of democracy in any vibrant democracy, they're a bulwark, are telling us that they're not necessarily able to do that. Memal?
Wanted to say something to Mr. Muniz ne jo point out kiya ki a lot of media owners now are property tycoons.
Yeah.
And what can't we talk about? हम लोग sensitive चीज़ों की तो बात करते थे, जिस तरह missing persons एक बहुत बड़ा issue है, उस पे लोग बात नहीं कर सकते और चीज़ें. लेकिन the consequences of media owners being property tycoons is कि आप रूडा जैसी चीज़ के ऊपर आप बात नहीं कर सकते. रूडा जो रावी अर्बन डेवलपमेंट अथॉरिटी का प्रोजेक्ट, जो इमरान खान साहब ने भी बहुत ज़्यादा अपने टाइम में प्रमोट किया था, लेकिन वो इसलिए क्योंकि ये जो मीडिया ओनर्स, जो प्रॉपर्टी टाइकून्स हैं, इन सब का स्टेक है रूडा में, और रूडा पे कब में बेसिकली कब्जा हो रहा है, उसके अंदर लोगों को फैक्ट्स नहीं बताए जा रहे कि गवर्नमेंट के उस पे खरीदा जाता है और फिर वो प्रॉपर्टी, प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी डीलर्स को वो लैंड जो है बेच दिया जाता है। लैंड ग्रैबिंग हो रही है, जुल्म हो रहा है फार्मर्स के साथ, बट नोबडी कैन टॉक अबाउट इट क्योंकि वो ओनर्स हैं इस वक्त। फिर आप देखें, बहुत सारे लोग पूछते हैं मलिक रियाज के बारे में क्यों नहीं टीवी चैनल्स पे नाम क्यों नहीं लिया जाता, वो बहुत बड़े एडवर्टाइजर हैं टीवी चैनल्स के। तो मलिक रियाज का नाम या बीप आउट हो जाता है, आप लाइव चैनल में, लाइव प्रोग्राम में समटाइम्स यू गेट अवे विद इट, यू कैन टॉक अबाउट हिज, यू कैन टेक हिज नेम, बट मोस्टली मलिक रियाज का नाम इवन गवर्नमेंट के लोग नहीं लेते। अपनी प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंसेज में वो 190 मिलियन पाउंड्स के केस की बात करते हैं, ये नहीं बताते वो प्रॉपर्टी टाइकून कौन है। मतलब ये होता है क्योंकि वो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज के साथ भी है। तो ये जो चीजें, ये भी हमें याद रखना चाहिए कि एक जो फाइनेंशियल और इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट है, जो गेन्स हैं फाइनेंशियल, इसकी वजह से भी बहुत ज्यादा लोग बात नहीं कर सकते। और हम अपने मीडिया की सेंसरशिप की बात करते हैं, एस्टैब्लिशमेंट की वजह से बहुत सारी रेड लाइन्स हैं, बट अब ये ओनर्स की अपनी रेड लाइन्स होंगी। ये ओनर्स आपको रोकेंगे बहुत सारी चीजें रिपोर्ट ना करने पे, और बहुत सारी फेक न्यूज भी ये चलवाएंगे दूसरे के खिलाफ जब उनकी कोई लड़ाई होगी। So that is also a very big problem when it comes to Pakistan.
Yeah. Special interests in the media, they existed before they exist now. Saqib, why don't you have a go? You were...
I want to go back to Balochistan. And I can actually give it to you in writing. आज आप बलूचिस्तान के अंदर सॉरी आज आप बलूचिस्तान में 200 मीटर लगा दें रेटिंग के, we still won't report Balochistan. We won't report Balochistan not because the establishment stops us, not because there's no commercial interest. I think we need to realize that we who work for national media are the national media, and we only talk about issues that look sexy to us. For example, if I were to talk about education, you won't invite me to this panel. You only invite people who report on sexy beats, which is politics. And national media is supposed to report only on national issues, which is the politics. You go to UK, you go to the US, you would find CNN talking about national issues. You would find BBC or Sky News talking about national issues. But how do they report local issues? They have local TV channels who report on local issues. I mean, I am a Punjabi and I can tell you that there are a lot of issues of Punjab which are very important to us, but they've never been reported despite us having a lot of rating meters. I mean, tell me if anybody of you has seen a report on agriculture in Punjab, how climate change has affected Punjab's farmer, or even smog. I mean, have you seen a good human interest story on how smog is affecting the kids? I mean, you won't find those stories on TVs or on national media because it's national media. You can only flourish and report on local stories when you have local media. Unfortunately, unlike West, we do not have good local TV channels or even local newspapers who can pick up these issues. National media सिर्फ आपको सियासत की बातें करेगा, and we should not expect वो आपको किसी भी regional issue की बात नहीं करेगा, and it's fair because we are national media.
I don't agree. What is national? I mean, when you want it record deck, then all of a sudden it becomes national. But when it comes to the people, all of a sudden it becomes what? Local? I mean, so your own terminology is very selective. When you want to lens it, when it comes to taking, then Balochistan is Pakistan. But when it comes to reporting and giving access to whether it's rights, voice, or point of view, all of a sudden they become 4% of your population. So, this is absolutely rubbish. But what you did say in terms of what is sexy or what is familiar, actually, is because those who are in the centralized national television, they come from one province. I mean, we don't have an English language channel, let alone media personnel who can speak anything other than Urdu and Punjabi. I mean, like you are on an Urdu program, half of you are joking in Punjabi. I mean, like your reference is Urdu and Punjabi. You are out of touch and have very little experience as a profession, access, travel, nuance, understanding topically of anything outside of the 4 cities, and 4-5 times, chalo 20 times travel to outside of these 5 cities. You know very little about the parts of Pakistan that require the same kind of detailed point of view information at a national, federal level that feeds back into a conversation that is holistically Pakistani. So this, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just a cop out.
Just on the definition of what's national, I mean, everybody reads Dawn, right, or any other newspaper. Why is the lead always politics? Why do city pages are at like page 4 or page 5? Because that's what defines, these are the editorial decisions that we take in newsroom, which story has the most national outreach. We are a mass media. I mean, we can only be mass media if we reach out to the masses.
We are at the end of our time, but quickly, because this was about pursuit of the truth, there was a question up here about how one might better fact check information that they get online. If any of you quickly want to respond to that.
A very small line. If there's a news item or a TV broadcast which isn't properly referenced, we use this technology in crypto blockchain where you can reference back to where the ledger came from. You have all the sources. If the story does not have a source, reject it. That's it. If it doesn't say, for example, if it says that Joe Biden said that there were decapitated babies, but it doesn't say कि Joe Biden के अलावा उन्होंने कहाँ से source लिया है, then you have to reject it. आपके पास source नहीं है तो आप उस story को
Manize quickly.
I'll just say, because I want to say something about the local media. Our local media is actually excellent. I'm sorry, I have to say this because I work with local media channels. अभी for fake news की आप बात ही करें ना, अभी हमें खबर आई है कि इन कोहिस्तान इन्होंने कहा है कि जो भी NGOs की खवातीन हैं उनके खिलाफ फतवा है and they should all be married forcibly. Ab, how did I check that fact? I called up the local newspaper there. I know them because I've been a journalist for 20 years. I called him up. I said, ये ठीक है कि नहीं है? मुझे इसकी information ला के दो. मुझे उस जिरगे का बताओ. मुझे ये बताओ. And because I know कि ये professional लोग हैं and we've had a working relationship, I can trust him. So I think that the local media is excellent in Pakistan. I read the local media. I read कि बलोचिस्तान खैबर से ये खबरें निकलती हैं और वो छोटी छोटी चीज़ों को भी करते हैं. तो हमारे मीडिया में कोई खराबी नहीं है. ये ज़रूर है कि हमें उसको सेक्सी बनाना आना चाहिए. We should make this news sexy. That's our job.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would just say you've learned a lot from this panel. It's been a great panel, by the way. We thank you, Manize, Memal, Saqib, Nino. We get a lot of news. There's accurate news, there is fake news, but the bottom line is, ladies and gentlemen, the responsibility is on you. Try to get out of your echo chamber, hear what the other side has to say, and form a better, more informed opinion. Thank you all. There is a wonderful interactive, immersive art exhibit in Gallery 6. And thanks to Google for Education for sponsoring the event. Thank you all very much.
That was an amazing panel discussion. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashfanyar and respected panelists. I hope you all enjoyed it. Respected audience, you can give your feedback on the session using the mobile app. Thank you.
Hello, 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 hello.
It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to the 16th edition of School of Tomorrow events, Guardians of the Future, Shaping Tomorrow with Generative AI. The nonprofit School of Tomorrow event series was launched by Beaconhouse in year 2000 to engage global communities in conversations that shape the future of schools and societies. I would like to thank Google for Education and their partner Tech Valley, the lead sponsor for School of Tomorrow 2023, and our titanium sponsor United Bank Limited. Other key sponsors include My Backpack, MK Allied Bank Limited, Habib Bank Limited, Wateen, and Interwood. We also thank our School of Tomorrow supporters, including Paramount Books and Nestle Pure Life, who have contributed to this year's event. My name is Muhammad Qasim, and I am an IGCSE and A-levels mathematics teacher at Beaconhouse Potoha campus, Islamabad. Please take a moment to note these important housekeeping points. Please ensure your cell phones are on silent. In case of an emergency, the exit point is located at the back of this hall. You may use the staircase opposite to this hall. In case if it is blocked or packed, you may use the one on the right-hand side. Always stay calm and follow directions. Please use the SOT app to scan the QR code for session question and answer and feedback. Share your thoughts on social media using hashtags, hashtag Guardians of the Future, and hashtag SOT2023. If you need assistance, our ushers are here to help. For question, please either use the flashcards provided by ushers or the mobile app. Each talk will last for about 10 minutes, followed by a 5 minutes question and answer. I would like to invite the first speaker of the session, Mr. Ahmed Saya, on the stage. A versatile professional and the Chief Operating Officer of Reveal Pakistan. He co-founded the Bridge School to address education inequalities in Pakistan and is a global master trainer for Casio Japan. He's pursuing a PhD in education with focus on artificial intelligence. His influence is recognized in the book, The Change Makers. A road in Karachi is also named after him. Over to Ms. Ahmed Saya.
Assalamu alaikum. So we realize that artificial intelligence has taken over and lots of things are requiring embedment of artificial intelligence. So I'll begin with the demographic structure of Pakistan. Pakistan is one of those countries which have the highest youth to total population ratios. And there is almost 64% of the population which is under 30 years. This should be a blessing for any country, but unfortunately, it's a dilemma for Pakistan because the youth to total population ratio in Pakistan will continue to increase till 2050, as per the reports of UNICEF. And if this happens with lack of career guidance and lack of direction for the youth, there is a possibility that the youth will lose the pathway to where they want to head and how they will eventually become successful people in life because of lack of direction. Unfortunately, despite having such a highest youth to total population ratio, 44% of this population is out of schools, which is almost 23 million children. And this is sad state of affairs because Constitution of Pakistan in Article 25A states that it is the responsibility of the state to ensure that all children between the age of 5 and 16 should go to school and should have access to free education. But unfortunately, despite that, 44% of the youth is out of schools. And those who go to schools, of that number, 10% only have access to career guidance and counseling. So those who manage to go to school still, unfortunately, are unaware of the fact that what they want to do with their lives. And hence, it's very important to realize that there has to be some measures that needs to be taken in order to help the youth find the direction for themselves. And hence, it's very important that we realize that the students needs to be guided and counseled. There is a need for career counseling because we all individuals are different. There is no one size that fits all. And everyone has their own innate abilities, their own idiosyncrasies, their own strengths, weaknesses, inclinations. We have our own different personality types. And unfortunately, the youth of Pakistan have usually are encountering 4 or 5 major career pathways. They either want to become doctors, engineers, or chartered accountants, despite the fact that they are not even aware of how many career pathways or options are available. They either choose a career pathway because their parents enforce them to become something, the unfulfilled dream of their parents are being fulfilled by them, or there's a possibility that there's a peer pressure, and this peer pressure forces them to follow a particular career pathway because all their friends are doing that, so let me also do that. Another sad part is that people tend to choose career based on the personalities that they like, or the family members who have been successful have done something without realizing that this particular thing might not be best fit for them. They indulge into that particular career pathway, whereas there is a lots of broad perspective because all of us are different. I might have a willingness to do something, but I might not be able to do that. I might be willing to become and opt for a particular profession, but unfortunately, I might not possess the right skill set for that particular thing. And hence, it's very, very important that I take an informed career decision. And to take an informed career decision, it is extremely important that I realize that who am I? What is my personality type? What is my idiosyncrasy? What interests me? What attracts me? And the saddest part of all is we do not embed ethics when we are trying to find the career pathway for us. We try to do whatever we feel will give us success, will give us money, will give us fame, but we do not realize whether it has the ethical implication. Will it develop my moral and character building will be happening through that particular career pathway or not? We do not possess the entrepreneurial mindset. We try to look for jobs, shortcuts, and whatever we do, we become very selfish in choosing those career pathways. We don't choose that particular pathway which might, along with us, help the society. If, for example, a particular person has the skills of becoming an entrepreneur, and he or she is only thinking of becoming that so that he or she can earn money, what he or she fails to realize is there could have been a better mindset to that. They could use that entrepreneurial mindset to create job opportunities, to fulfill the gap that the society requires. They can try and become better individuals, can bring better economical advancement and prosperity to the country. But that particular mindset is not pushed forward to, it is not usually catered to, it's not talked about. It's always, when we are discussing the career pathways, it's always about me, myself, and I, unfortunately. It should be me within the span of the society. What my influence, what my personality, what my existence means to the society, and how can I create an impact to the society with my career pathway. And there are different theories aligned to career pathways, and which are very important to realize, because when career counselors are guiding students, they guide them using one or the other career theories that are there. And for example, the career counseling process started from vocational finding, when in 1909, Frank Parson decided that people need to be shown a direction. Everyone is choosing a career pathway that is not necessarily a best fit for them. And when students choose a career pathway that is not necessarily a fit for them, or choose a career pathway that has a boom in, then we find that there is a generation of lots of doctors, there is a generation of lots of engineers, there is a generation of lots of architects maybe. So whatever career pathway has a boom, everyone tries to go into that without realizing whether they will become good architects, good engineers, good chartered accountants or not. And hence, it's a misfit. And we need to avoid that misfit. So, trait and factor theory states that your personality, your individual traits should fit in with the environment you feel that you should opt as a career pathway. Similarly, there is Holland's theory that states that a person has 6 different personality types, and those 6 personality types dominates how your career pathway should be, and you should choose the career pathway depending on how your personality is rather than what others are doing. Then Super's lifespan theory says that students and people, their interest varies as their age advances. When they are children, they tend to become something because they are attracted by those particular professions. As they grow older, their mindset changes, their personalities change, their interests change, and eventually they try and opt for those career pathways that attract them more. Then there is cognitive information processing and social cognitive theory, which says that it's the behavior of the mindsets, it's the society that impacts, it's the mindset that impacts. And eventually, there is no one theory that can guide you to the right career pathway. There has to be an integration of different theories, because all these theories are nice, important. They talk similar things, that your personality traits, your environment, your future career aspirations are all linked to each other. So when we try and embed AI into technology, into career guidance, what will happen? The problem, as identified, is that, as I mentioned earlier, 10% of those who go to schools have access to career counseling. Those who do not go to schools at all have no inclination, have no career pathways, have no one to guide them. How can they choose a skill set? How can they find their vocation? What can they do in future that will help them become better individuals, help them choose a successful career, can help them contribute and give back to the society? So when artificial intelligence is becoming so common, and I agree it has its own pros and cons, but when it is so common that it is accessible to every smartphone user, and it has been noted that those who do not even go to school have access to smartphones. Smartphones technology is becoming very common. So when artificial intelligence will embed into career counseling, all those who have no access to that will be able to at least take guidance through the technology. So the artificial intelligence will ask an individual questions regarding their personality, their interests, their strengths, their weaknesses, and each individual's portfolio will start building onto that. The thing that will be taken into consideration will be different models of the theories that we just saw, and the artificial intelligent systems, the algorithms, will help identify what personality type this particular individual has and what are the things that he or she is attracted to. Based on that, a similar kind of model will be developed, which will identify what are the hardcore strengths that this particular individual possesses. Then the artificial intelligence, through those questions, will also try and find out what kind of environment he or she best fits into and what personality type, based on, let's say, this model is Myers-Briggs model, which is one of the career counseling theories, psychometric testing models through which a person's career aspiration is found. And this particular thing will help identify what environment will he be best suited for. Then there can be a vocational finder. These are just 3 models that have been embedded. With the help of artificial intelligence, it is not necessary that we only embed 3 models. We can embed all the particular theories in existence, which will validate and verify, because there is always a reliability issue attached to artificial intelligence, which there was and there will be. But if it is counter-checked through different models, different theories, there is a possibility that we come up to a conclusion which is much better than having no career guidance at all. And eventually, the best possible career pathways can be suggested. Not only this, not only the career pathways will be suggested, but with the help of technology, we can also suggest what routes can be taken to reach that career pathway, where the student is, where he wants to be, but the most important journey will be how to get there. And to realize how to get there, what colleges options are available, which university options are available, with a particular budget in mind, which areas of specialization that particular child can go into. Not only this, they can also help choose the subject combination they should take at their university level or at their college level, so that their career pathway is designed as effectively as possible. Plus, all the local, international options can be identified. The issue is that if this thing happens, will it cannibalize the role of career counselors? No, it won't, because there are 2 things that are attached to it. First, those who do not have access to career counselors at all. If someone who does not have an access to career counselor, he or she does not have access to identify what is right, what is wrong, what is personality type, and how he or she choose a particular career pathway, it will be a completely new journey for that particular person. But for those who have access to career counselors, it will act as a support rather than a complementary product. It will be a support for the students, for the career counselors, and career counselors will be able to guide based on the results of these psychometric testings and will be able to help them. Obviously, advantages and disadvantages are attached to it. The advantages will be personalization. A personal career pathway will be made for each and every individual. Humans cannot possibly access to so much data as a machine can. An individual career counselor can guide a student on certain roles, certain careers. But if there are 1,600 career options available, a particular career counselor cannot do that. At least artificial intelligence will be able to guide them to many other avenues, and then career counselor can take a lead from there and help the students achieve success. Plus, it is unbiased. The problem that most students face with the career counselors is career counselors tend to become biased when they meet a student. They have more information about the career pathway that they are interested in, whereas there can be many other options that can be best fit for the child. Obviously, lack of human touch, emotional quotient will be missing. Students talking to a machine can never be same as students talking to an individual. So pros and cons are attached. Artificial intelligence can be a leap forward, can help an individual grow, can do the clerical part for the student, but it will not be able to replace human touch completely. Thank you. What is career counseling and what role does self-awareness play in the effectiveness of career counseling for young learners? Basically, career counseling is a guidance that is provided to the individuals in choosing a career pathway for them so that they decide on what they should become in future, what profession they should choose in future to become what they perceive to be, and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And what role does career counseling play in students' life? It helps in the guidance that they require. What success stories or case studies exemplify the positive effects of career counseling on young students' life and career trajectories? Uh, there have been lots of studies that are conducted on career counseling, and those studies clearly identify that those students who have acquired career counseling are more successful than those students who had no exposure to career counseling, because those students who had career counseling, they got to know that what they would want to become are. Their personality got inclined and aligned to the environment that their personality is like, and eventually their career pathways were decided according to that. And those students who did not had career counseling, lots of such students chose the career uh, which they perceived would give them the best possible opportunities. Some definitely are successful, some did not become successful. Some, even those who got career counseling, yes, some of them do become successful and some of them do not become successful, because it is not always a right fit that they encounter. Sometimes they do encounter the right fit, sometimes they do not. Thank you.
That was a very insightful session. Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Saya. I hope you all enjoyed it. Respected audience, you can give your feedback on the session using the mobile app. Now, I would like to call the next Miss Sadaf Abed on the stage. Miss Sadaf Abed. Mr. Ahmed, there's one more question from the audience. If you can take that, please.
As I mentioned, the role of artificial intelligence in AI is that it will help and devise a career pathway for an individual. For example, if I don't know what I want to do in life, in future, I can opt for an AI career counselor, and I will, let's say I start off with, what should I do in future? The AI will obviously start asking questions. For example, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What do you like? What you don't like? And these questions will not be direct questions. These questions can be in a manner that they ask questions referring to your life. For example, when making plans with friends, do you take the initiative or you follow your friends? Just by asking this question, AI can realize whether this particular person has the leadership abilities in him, or he or she does not have the leadership abilities with him. But there is a problem attached to such questions. The problem is, when we are asked questions, we try to answer questions the way we want to be rather than the way we are. And that is the biggest dilemma. So to avoid this particular problem and to validate and to check the reliability of the answers, the same question is asked in different manner, differently at different point in time. So every time a particular person who's answering and gives the answer which is the same, is in the same connotation. For example, this leadership role is asked in another form also, and the answer once again is that I take the initiative. I take the initiative. It's giving a clue or an indication that this particular person, yes, possesses the leadership traits, or that particular personality type where he or she can take a decision, is a decision maker. But at the same time, if at some point in time this particular person is giving the answer that yes, he's a leader, at other points in time is giving the answer that he's not the leader, then artificial intelligence will keep asking questions until unless one option supersedes the other option by a big margin. Yes. This question has different perceptions. Some people would definitely believe that leadership traits can be built through time, and there are certain perceptions which say your personality types usually do not change over time. Whatever your personality is, it will not usually change. It will remain as it is, and it will be applied throughout your life.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed Saya. Now I would like to welcome Ms. Aisha Chundigar, CEO of Aisha Chundigar Foundation, ACF Animal Rescue. Started her journey of compassion as a child and founded ACF at 24, believing in empathy for both humans and animals. With 3 UK degrees in Advanced Diploma in Humanistic Counselling and Psychotherapy from the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists, Masters of Arts and Master of International Journalism from City University of London. She aims to teach society about the importance of respecting and fostering empathy for those who cannot reciprocate. Ms. Aisha Chundigar.
Please unmute yourself. Wait, we are unable to hear you.
Meanwhile, we resolve the technical glitch. I would like to invite the next speaker, Ms. Sadaf Abed, on the stage. Ms. Sadaf Abed. The CEO of the Circle is an innovative and advocate of women economic empowerment. She pioneered the digital literacy program with the United Nations Women. Other than being the advisor of Dell Women Entrepreneurship Network, she has chaired the National Bank of Pakistan Inclusive Development Committee. Former CEO of Kashf Foundation, Sadaf is the vice chair of the Pakistan Microfinance Network. Her work has been recognized with the Mount Holyoke Alumni Achievement Award and featured in Nicholas Kristof's book, Half the Sky. Ma'am.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. I'm really happy being here. It's my first time. I'm coming straight from Chitral. So 10 hours journey and I really didn't get a chance to freshen up much. But I'm really excited and I want to share with you my journey and some insights. So I believe that for Pakistan's prosperity, we must invest in women. And Pakistan, as you know, ranks at the bottom 4th in terms of global gender gap, which is done by the World Economic Forum, meaning that in our country, unfortunately, we do not give fair and equal treatment to women. We are not leveraging their talents. And we know this, that no country in the world has progressed without women's participation. Can anyone guess what is the economic participation rate of women in Pakistan in the formal economy? Any guesses? 56%, okay? Someone from here? 36%? Okay, Ji? 13%. All of you are very optimistic, you are very pessimistic, and it is 21%. How much is Bangladesh? 40%. Vietnam, 70%. So clearly, we've got to do something about it. So that is why I founded Circle. It's a tech nonprofit, and it's founded with the belief that investing in women is critical for Pakistan's economic prosperity. At Circle, we are providing digital literacy, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship skills to women. I believe that in today's world, access to internet and digital literacy is a basic fundamental human right. So like you and I are able to go on Google Meet, Zoom, use various tools, there are 3 billion people in the world who do not have access to internet or who do not know how to use digital tools. In Pakistan, we have one of the widest digital gender divides. What does that mean? That means even if a woman has access to internet, she does not know how to use it. She doesn't know how to use it safely. She doesn't know how to make connections, networks, skills, and livelihood through digital tools. That's where Circle comes in. So I designed the digital literacy program under the pandemic. Circle was already running. And as you and I, we all moved on to Google Meet, Zoom. Circle was very quick on going online. I realized there are millions of women in Pakistan who don't know how to use these tools. So I, with the support of UN Women, designed the digital literacy program. We worked with 60 women from Sialkot, Multan, Quetta. And guess what? My instructors didn't go out to meet them. They did not leave their homes, but we gave them data bundles and we gave them videos and content and we did live sessions and we trained them on what? We trained them on how to use the internet, how to use it with safety, how to use different digital tools from Google Map to WhatsApp for business, Facebook, Insta, and all these tools for business purposes. Also, we trained them on how to take photographs of their products. And we also opened mobile wallets so they could have a bank account. Because again, Pakistan has millions of women who don't have bank accounts. What does that mean? That means there's no financial history being built. So if they ever want to take access to finance, they have no background. So we did this with 60 women. Next year, UN Women again supported us, and we worked with 350 women. And what we found was that the women who had micro businesses, women who we call home-based workers, they started earning 2,500 to 25,000 rupees additional income because they got access to markets. They got access to new customers. So it was very exciting. Based on that, we scaled the initiative, and today I'm very happy to share with you, we have trained 10,000 plus low-income women from Chitral, where I was today, to Skardu, Gilgit, Rahim Yar Khan, Khanewal, Jhang, Hyderabad, Quetta, and many other parts of the country. Our big goal is to impact 1 million women. Because unless we bring digital tools and digital literacy to women, we are going to leave them behind. So technology is a great enabler, it's an equalizer, and it offers us the possibility to leapfrog. When I go into villages and communities, because I have spent a lot of time traveling, working, interacting with women, when I ask them, what do you want? What is your wish? आपके ख्याल में वो क्या कहते हैं? जब गांव में आप जाएं, communities में जाएं और आप एक औरत से पूछें, आपको क्या चाहिए? क्या कहते हैं आपके ख्याल में? जी. Education, hospital, what else? Schools, security, let me tell you, none of these. Freedom, yeah, I also want freedom, yes. Okay, what else? Money or food? कहीं आप अभी तक करीब नहीं पहुंचे. Respect? No. Hello. आप तो नहीं ये सोचते. नहीं. नहीं, fortunately this has never come up. Acha, what they say is सिलाई machine. They say सिलाई machine चाहिए. मेरे गांव में एक सिलाई center खोल दें. So they don't have exposure. They are still stuck in time. They think Salai machine is the solution. Salai machine is going to get them that earning that someone spoke about. The livelihood, the confidence, it's going to come through the Salai machine. So I tell them, ask for a smartphone. Ask for internet. Ask for a tech hub. Because in today's world, this is your Salai machine. This is going to open new connections, new opportunities, skills, knowledge, networks, and livelihoods. And I'd like to share with you that from the experience that we have had, we've seen amazing shifts. From small shifts where women have shared with me कि पहले अगर मेरे अम्मी बीमार रहती हैं, डायबिटीज़ है और उनको हार्ट की भी प्रॉब्लम है, I'm always waiting for my brother or father to take her to the doctor. Now I have learned how to use Google Map and InDrive, and I am taking her on my own. Another woman shared, she said, कल जब मैं आई थी ट्रेनिंग पे तो मुझे लोगों से पूछना पड़ रहा था कि कहाँ है लोकेशन. आज मैं अपना गूगल मैप देख के खुद आई हूँ. फिर एक औरत ने शेयर किया कि जी मेरा हस्बैंड रिक्शा चलाता है, हमें हमेशा पैसों की कमी होती है और मैं बहुत यूजलेस फील करती हूँ. सर्कल से ट्रेनिंग के बाद अब मैं फूड बिजनेस स्टार्ट कर रही हूँ. And similarly, women are using the mobile wallets to pay bills, school fees. They don't have to step out of their homes. So micro shifts are beginning to happen. And we have created 10,000 plus mobile wallets. We have helped 1,500 plus micro businesses emerge. And most importantly, confidence, belief that I can do something. I can change my life. I can improve my life. So it's been very exciting, very empowering, and this is the goal that I am championing for Pakistan and globally, that every woman and girl should have access to internet, should be digitally literate, and should be able to play an active role as a digital citizen. Let me also share with you 5 insights and lessons that I have learned from my journey for all of you as your takeaways. Number 1, believe in yourself. Every day in the morning, do you brush your teeth? Yes. Every day in the morning, do you tell yourself, I believe in myself? No. Do you think you should? Yes, because it starts with belief. If you're going to believe in something, others will believe too. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to. So it starts with you. Make that intention. Believe in yourself. So that is my first message whenever I go to gatherings, that literally every day in the morning when you're waking up, brushing your teeth, tell yourself, I believe in myself. I can do it. And I must share with you, to this date, I do this exercise because life will bring ups and downs. There will be times when you'll think, can I really do this? This is very challenging. How will it happen? You'll have fears, concerns, anxieties. That's the human condition. But we have to have positive affirmation. So believe in yourself. Second, build allies, build advisors, build a network of community who supports you. Be around people who lift your spirit. Don't be around people who dampen your spirit. Energy vampires. Have you met them? Yes, I think we've all met them, right? They drain you. Like they just drain you completely. So and you have met people also who lift you. You meet them and you're energized, you're excited. So they say we are the 5 people we spend time with. So focus on who you spend your time with. Third, resilience. It's a long game. Building a business, building a career, staying active is a long-term game. So that means ups and downs will happen. You have to build the stomach to stay in the game. It's like, how many of you can bicycle? Did you get it first day? No, you fell down, you had to try again. So resilience is really important. Fourth is self-care. This is particularly for the women in this room. It's really important. As women, we always prioritize the needs of everyone else, but we don't think about our own needs. One of my lessons is first start with your needs. You must be in a happy, peaceful, positive space. Only then can you give to your family, to your community, to your work, to your enterprise. So start with that. And what does that look like? Exercise, meditate, do yoga, listen to music, spend time in nature, take trips, whatever it is. But you've got to have daily practices every day. When you're having chai in the morning, center yourself, do some breath work. So in the end, that's my journey as a social entrepreneur. I wish you all the best. And I would really love it if you took one thing from this session and applied it in your life. Because if you succeed, your family will prosper and Pakistan will prosper. Thank you. Oh, yes. What specific digital literacy initiatives do you have in place to empower low-income women? How do you plan to scale these programs? Great question. So we have a basic digital literacy program, which is for women who are not at all digitally savvy. So we train them digital safety, the power of the internet. We train them on various tools from Google Map to WhatsApp, Facebook, Insta for businesses, Canva, how to take photographs, mobile wallet for financial transactions. We also provide basic business skills, financial literacy skills. So this is the foundation course. Then we have an advanced level digital literacy and entrepreneurship course. These courses are around 20 hours. They are done on ground also. So we've gone to Jhang, we've gone to Khanewal, Rahim Yar Khan, but we also do it online. And yes, for scaling, we are setting up area offices across the country, and we have a train the trainer model. So we train women who then train women in their community so we can grow. So this year, inshallah, we'll be closing the year at 15,000 plus women. Any other question? Okay, thank you so much.
That was a very insightful session by Ms. Sadaf Abed. Thank you so much. Dear audience, you can share your feedback by using the mobile app. Now, Ms. Aisha Chandigarh is online with us. Over to Ms. Aisha Chandigarh. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. I am terribly sorry about that, but I'm really excited to be here and to talk to everyone. I do something that is quite unique. It's something that's quite rare, I think, in our country. But again, it's only when you do something different is when you can truly bring about change. Because, clearly things that, happen regularly, they don't bring about the change that we're looking for. So anything that we do that needs to bring about change is always going to be unique. It has to be different. It has to show another point of view to the world. I rescue animals. I rescue abused and injured animals from the streets of Karachi. I rescue all sorts of animals. I have a shelter, a sanctuary of about 1,000 animals. Simultaneously, we have rescue vans that go out every day, and we rescue about 30 to 40 animals on a daily basis as well. These animals have been through extreme violence. They've been through extreme abuse at hands of people. This is humans abusing animals. And a lot of people have asked me, I've been doing this for 10 years now. 10 years of my life. I'll give you a brief just about who I am. I was a journalist. I used to live in London, but I moved back because I said I need to start something like this in Pakistan because somebody has to do it. We keep waiting for someone to come and make the change or be the change or rescue us. But it's a very harsh reality when you realize that the only one who can be your hero is yourself. And that's a very important way of living your life. It's very important, just as advice that I can share is never wait for anyone to come and do the work. It's always best if you be that person, rise up to the occasion and do the work yourself. Lots of people ask me why I work with animals and why I don't work with humans, because there's so many humans suffering. And my answer is always that I work with everybody. And I'm going to show you a short film that I had written, and it's quite powerful because my entire way of working, of connecting with people, of raising awareness, of pioneering animal welfare in Pakistan is because of storytelling. I just told stories of animals, and I think through storytelling, it's a very powerful medium to actually connect with people. So we're going to switch over to the film. It's a short film. I hope you enjoy it. It's going to leave you with a lot of emotions, and then I can't wait to talk to you right after.
अरे कहीं भी रुक जाती हूँ बेवकूफ लड़की चलो भैया जरा अच्छी मोटी वाली निकालो एक और 12 पीस करने हैं, सही से साफ करना है। इतनी तो महंगी कर दी तुमने और छीछड़ा ही डाल देते हो सारे। अरे बाबा ऐसे दर्द हो रहा होगा। अरे नहीं होता उससे कोई दर्द वर्द, कट जाएगी अभी। बाबा अभी तो सुनना है ना, अगर मेरे बाल कोई होते मुझे दर्द होगा ना। पहली दफा ये ना आदत है, बेकार बातें मत किया करो। इन्हें कोई दर्द वर्द नहीं होता, अल्लाह ने ऐसे ही बनाया है इनको। और दिन में कितनी मुर्गियां काटता है वो, हर एक मुर्गी का दुखड़ा सुनने लगा तो हो गया उसका काम। ऐसा ही होता है।
भाई जवाब ही नहीं, कल तो मजा ही आ गया क्रिकेट देखने का। बेहतरीन बॉलिंग की है सानुल्ला ने। थक गया होगा खेल खेल के मेरा बेटा।
आज तो थक गए होंगे।
मंगाऊं पराठा? खा मेरा बेटा। लाला एक पराठा लाना भाई बेटे के लिए हमारे। पीएसएल ने आईपीएल को बहुत पीछे छोड़ दिया जो हमारी बॉलिंग का स्टैंडर्ड है। जवाब यकीन मांगे। कहाँ जा रहे हो भाई? क्या हो? ओहो बैठो, हट तेरी तो मैं ऐसी
आने देना पापा, भूख लगी होगी।
दफा करो, गंदे होते हैं ये, कितने हट्टे कट्टे हो रहे हैं। देखो इन्हें खाने को मिलता रहता है, ज्यादा फ्री नहीं करो, ये काट लेंगे तुम्हें बेटा। दिन भर कचरे में बैठते हैं ये।
कचरा खाते तो बीमार नहीं हो जाते पापा। और अगर मुझे भी भूख लगेगी तो मैं भी बार बार मांगूंगा।
तुम क्या कुत्ते हो?
भूख तो सबको लगती है ना पापा।
बेटा हर चीज की दुनिया में एक अलग जगह होती है, अलग मुकाम होता है।
तुम्हारा बेटा तो भाई बहुत ही नरम दिल है। बच्चे बेचारे इसी चक्कर में ना कुत्तों से कटवा के आ जाते हैं। अच्छा कर रहे हो जो अपने बेटे को बता रहे हो। और तो जैसा दिल नहीं होना चाहिए बेटा। ये लो, जाओ ये पकड़ो, टेका के दो।
हाँ बेटा चलो शाबाश, ऐसा ही होता है।
ये भाग वाह यार क्या है तो प्रैक्टिस है भाई, हमेशा मारता हूं मैं। भाग रहा है यार, वो गया
मम्मी मारे।
देखा कैसा भागा है।
बस यार ऐसे ही होता है.
अरे यही की यही जमी खड़ी हो, ये नहीं कि ले लो. हो गया भैया जी. चलो अब चलो, क्या खड़ी खड़ी देख रही हो.
ऐसा ही होता है बेटा. चलो.
जिंदगी की ये छोटी सी तस्वीर जानवरों पर जुल्म के बारे में नहीं है, बल्कि उस ख्याल के बारे में है कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. हमारे यहाँ इंसानों का जानवरों से इंटरैक्शन ज्यादातर पुरतशद्दुद ही होता है. ये हमारे लिए आम सी बात बन चुकी है. ऐसा नहीं कि हम पे ये रवैये असर करना बंद कर देते हैं, हम बस इन्हें कबूल कर लेते हैं. जब कोई बच्चा इस पुरतशद्दुद रवैये यानी अब्यूज को नॉर्मल समझने लगता है, तो इस ख्याल को जिंदगी के दूसरे तजुर्बात के साथ मिलाकर वो ये मानने लगता है कि अब्यूज जिंदगी गुजारने का तरीका है. इन्हीं बच्चों में से कुछ इन तजुर्बात की वजह से तशद्दुद करने वाले यानी अब्यूजर बन जाते हैं, और कुछ इस रवैये को झेलने वाले यानी अब्यूज्ड.
I feel like the film is always a very strong way to explain to people why I do the work that I do. Because the question I get all the time is, why are you working with animals and not people? But what people don't understand, and that's why I wanted to put that into a film, is that if you don't first even acknowledge the most vulnerable in society, if they are seen as nothing, if they are seen as the lowest of the low, that they don't even exist, that has a trickle down effect, as you can see, because this is the way it works. If you are told and if you are made to feel like you are more than somebody else, and somebody else is smaller than you, this is how violence in society, domestic violence, rape, all of these things are attached to this same notion that you can domineer and dominate over those who are more vulnerable. So the philosophy of my organization runs far deeper than anything. It's one of those things where, because And I've just seen such a change in the last 10 years that the more we share stories of animals, the more we share stories of people and connecting them with animals, you realize when a child starts feeling empathy towards an animal, they will become much more empathetic in every other part of their life. And those are the kind of people we want in our world. Those are the kind of young people that I would like to see in the future. Because when I was young, and I would always wonder why there's so much injustice and the scales of injustice are so imbalanced on both sides. I mean, literally, an animal cannot defend itself at all. He can't scream in a way, in a language that you would even understand. And for the life of me, since I was a child, I never understood how this imbalance of power can be even remotely justified. And that is why I started with animals, and I knew I wouldn't stop at animals. I just know that everything holistically is connected. The environment, people, animals, everyone is connected together. And actually, living in a third world country, we have to face facts. We cannot help one without helping the other. So we have lots of different programs where we actually work with donkey owners, with so many people. We have kids who visit us. We have all sorts of amazing activities. I'd love for you to go check out our social media, see the kind of work that we do. And I think I really hope this film, made everyone think about their own childhoods, maybe, or things that we have been told. This blanket statement of "aisa hi hota hai." I think we all have heard this statement so much, right? You can put so many toxic norms under this umbrella of "aisa hi hota hai," it's so normal. This is just the way it is. And I never understood why is this the way it is. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So my idea essentially is to connect people, to open their eyes to several things. So that's about it. Thank you.
That was an amazing session. Thank you very much, Ms. Aisa Chandrigar. Dear audience, I hope you all enjoyed it. Kindly give your feedback on the session using the mobile app. Thank you very much. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the 16th edition of School of Tomorrow events, Guardians of the Future, Shaping Tomorrow with Generative AI. The non-profit SOT event series was launched by Beaconhouse in year 2000 to engage global communities in conversations that shape the future of schools and societies. I would like to thank Google for Education and their partner Tech Valley, the lead sponsor for SOT 2023, and our titanium sponsor United Bank Limited. Other key sponsors include My Backpack, MK Books International, Allied Bank Limited, Habib Bank Limited, Watheen, and Interwood. We also thank our School of Tomorrow supporters, including Paramount Books International and Nestle Pure Life, who have contributed to this year's event. My name is Muhammad Qasim, and I am an IGCSE A-Levels Mathematics teacher at Beaconhouse, Potoha campus, Islamabad. Please take a moment to note these important housekeeping points. Please ensure your cell phones are on silent. In case of an emergency, the exit point is located at the back of this hall. You may use the staircase opposite to this hall. In case if it is blocked or packed, you may use the one on the right-hand side. Always stay calm and follow directions. Please use the SOT app to scan the QR code for session question answer and feedback. Share your thoughts on social media using hashtags, hashtag Guardians of the Future and SOT2023. If you need assistance, our ushers are here to help. This workshop will last for about an hour. Now I would like to invite Ms. Shahnaz Minallah. Ms. Shahnaz Minallah is a life coach of mindfulness and self-mastery. She comes from a long line of Sufi saints from the Kaka-Khel tribe, which resulted in her having a deep spiritual background, significant in shaping a divine outlook. Her work has changed the lives of so many diverse sections of society, ranging from general well-being to dramatic health-related issues. She aimed to empower the youth to take on this wonderful journey of love, wisdom, and service. Her work speaks in creating a program that marries what the youth loves to do with what needs to be done. She has devoted her life to inspire people to do the things that inspire them. Ms. Shahnaz also has been co-chairperson of Art of Living Pakistan chapter. She has taught over 100 courses nationwide in Peshawar, Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore, Multan, and Hyderabad. Over to Ms. Shahnaz Minallah.
पनान हाँ अच्छा जी हर कोई अभी एक जबरदस्त घंटा गुजारने का प्रोग्राम है हाँ मजे करने हैं ये घंटा है जो है ना ये सेहत और खुशी के बारे में है ये सबसे जरूरी दो चीजें हैं हमारी जिंदगी में है कि नहीं उर्दू में बात करूं कि इंग्लिश में बात करूं दोनों यस उर्दू हाँ अच्छा जी तो हेल्थ एंड हैप्पीनेस सबसे जरूरी चीज है जिंदगी में लेकिन कोई खुश नहीं है और कोई सेहतमंद नहीं है ये क्यों हाँ सेहतमंद है अच्छा जी हाँ स्ट्रेस की वजह अच्छा जी सो नाउ बड़ी नई चीजें आप सुनेंगी जो कि आपने कभी पहले नहीं सुना होगा शायद हाँ तो इंसानी फितरत ये है कि हम रिजेक्ट करते हैं जो भी नई चीज हो हाँ तो हम आपसे इल्तिजा करते हैं कि खुले जहन के साथ आपने ये प्रोग्राम करना है ठीक है ना जी जो कुछ मैं आपसे कराऊं आपने करना है एवरीबडी रेडी हाँ बिकॉज हमने हर चीज हमारी बाहर की दुनिया में है लेकिन असली जिंदगी हमारे अंदर है ठीक है ना जी हमारे रिलेशनशिप्स बाहर हैं हमारे करियर्स बाहर हैं हमारी एजुकेशन हर चीज बाहर है लेकिन असली चीज असली जिंदगी हमारी अंदर है हाँ हमारी चार चीजें हमारी जिंदगी को डिक्टेट करती हैं वो है हमारा दिमाग आप कानों से नहीं सुन रहे इस वक्त मुझे आप दिमाग से सुन रहे हो हाँ सो आवर माइंड इंटेलेक्ट आप सब मुझे इस वक्त जज कर रहे हो हमारे दिमाग में एक मीटर चल रहा होता है हाँ हाँ नहीं नहीं ये दोनों हर वक्त ये हमारा इंटेलेक्ट है, अकल जिसको कहते हैं, ठीक है ना जी। ये दो चीजें हो गई। फिर हमारी यादाश्त है, you know, sets of impressions of our past. Yes, that is the third form of most important thing in our life. And the fourth is ego, हमारी अना। ये चार चीजें अगर सिम्प्त में, एक सिम्प्त में हो तो हमारी जिंदगी बड़ी मीठी गुजरेगी। लेकिन कोई हमने, किसी ने आज तक हमें स्कूल और कॉलेज में यही नहीं सिखाया कि किस तरह इन चार चीजों को आपने सही रखना है, ठीक है ना जी। अगर इस वक्त आपके सामने एक जादूगर खड़ा हो, इस वक्त अगर अभी एक जादूगर इस कमरे में आ जाए और आपकी सबसे गहरी दिल की मुराद पूरी होने लगी होगी, तो आप क्या मांगोगे? एनी आइडियाज? वन वर्ड आंसर्स। व्हाट आर वी लुकिंग फॉर? हम किस चीज की तलाश में हैं इस जिंदगी में, इस छोटी सी जिंदगी में? सुकून। यस, एवरीबडी। Happiness. See, it's all about peace and happiness. Anything else besides these two? किसी को गाड़ी, किसी को बंगला? हाँ जी, बताए बताए, be truthful. हाँ, ये चीजें भी जरूरी हैं, लेकिन जो असली चीज है जिंदगी में है वो अमन और खुशी है, ठीक है everybody? Yes. अच्छा, does everybody know one another? No? अच्छा जी, so now before we start the real program, it's going to be, हम बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बातें करेंगे कि हम क्यों पैदा हुए हैं, जिंदगी का क्या मकसद है, क्या करने आए हैं, कितना देर रहने का इरादा है इस जिंदगी में, इस जिस्म के अंदर। हाँ, तो ऐसी गहरी बातें हैं, उसके लिए हमें एक बहुत रिलैक्स्ड एटमॉस्फेयर चाहिए। तो रिलैक्स्ड एटमॉस्फेयर किस तरह बनता है? हर कोई खड़ा हो जाए, हर कोई खड़ा हो जाए और हर किसी के पास जाए। सुने, इस तरह हर किसी के पास जाए, अपना हाथ निकाले एंड से टेक आउट योर हैंड, अपना नाम ले। आई एम, आपका नाम? आई एम साजिदा। अपना नाम ले एंड से आई बिलोंग टू यू, लेट्स मूव टुगेदर। एवरीबॉडी से आई बिलोंग टू यू, लेट्स मूव टुगेदर। टू एवरीबॉडी, हर किसी के साथ हर किसी से मिले, मिले मिले, हर किसी से मिले। Meet everybody. Meet everybody. मिले मिले, हर किसी से मिले। Everybody should meet everybody. Listen, when जब आधा घंटा गुजर जाए तो आप मुझे बताएं, then I alert me. Everybody, हर कोई मिले, हर किसी से। अच्छा जी, has everybody met? Yes. How does the room feel now? कुछ बदल गया ना? क्या हुआ इस कमरे में? किस तरह आई है? जब हम किसी स्ट्रेंजर को कहते हैं तो सबसे पहली चीज क्या होती है? एक कनेक्ट. जब आप हाथ निकालते हो तो क्या होता है? कनेक्शन सी बन जाती है. यस. कनेक्शन के बाद क्या होता है? एक ओपननेस एस्टैब्लिश हो जाता है. यस. एंड सडनली यू स्टार्ट फ्री. एक फ्रीडम सी आ गई है कमरे में. एंड फ्रीडम के बाद हैप्पीनेस. यस. सो दिस इज ऑल व्हाट वी आर लुकिंग फॉर इन लाइफ, is openness, connection, love, and belonging, and freedom, and happiness. Yes? So better. And you know, we are focusing on everything wrong. You know, that's all what human beings need. We need very little. अच्छा जी, तो जादूगर ने क्या मांगा? हाँ जी. So we are all looking for peace and happiness. Is that established? Yes? Why are we not all happy in this world? क्यों हम happy? सुने, no talking right. No talking right. अच्छा जी, हम क्यों खुश नहीं है? हम है खुश या नहीं है खुश? Mix है? हाँ? We are not? Yes? Yes. We always base our happiness, yes, beautiful, on a person, on a situation, on an event or a circumstance. जब फलानी चीज हो जाएगी फिर मैं खुश होंगी. यू नो, जब बच्चा छोटा होता है तो कहते हैं बस तुम मैट्रिक खत्म कर लो तो फिर खुशियां ही खुशियां. मैट्रिक के बाद कहते हैं बस कॉलेज खत्म करो तो खुशियां ही खुशियां. जब कॉलेज खत्म करते हैं कहते हैं नौकरी लो तो फिर खुशियां ही खुशियां. नौकरी के बाद कहते हैं शादी करो. ओ, और वो सुने, और अक्सर औकात शादी जो है ना एक ओवर इन्फ्लेटेड, एक वो हमेशा एंटी क्लाइमैक्स ही होता है. अच्छा जी, फिर कहते हैं शादी तो कोई चीज नहीं है, बच्चे पैदा करो तो खुशियां ही खुशियां. फिर वो मनहूस बड़े हो तो फिर खुशियां ही खुशियां. फिर उन मनहूसों की शादियां हो और फिर उन मनहूसों के मनहूस बच्चे. सुने, तो ये क्या हुआ? ये क्या पढ़ाया जा रहा है हमें? ये एक गलत पट्टी सिखाई जा रही है हमें. पता है क्या? दरअसल खुशी आपको पता है क्या चीज है? सिर्फ लम्हा मौजूद में रहना खुशी का मतलब है. जब आपका दिमाग when you can give the present moment its 100%, you are a happy person. आपको पता है डेफिनेशन ऑफ अ हैप्पी पर्सन क्या है? जिसका दिमाग 100% खाली हो ख्यालात से, जिसका दिमाग खाली हो ख्यालात से, जिसका दिल 100% भरा हो मोहब्बत से, और जिसके हाथ 100% मसरूफ हो. That's all it is. तो अगर आप झाड़ू भी दे रहे हो ना तो दिल के साथ झाड़ू दे रहे हो. 100% हो के आप बर्तन धो रहे हो, 100% आप बर्तन के अंदर नहा रहे हो तो सिर्फ नहाने के अंदर हो. पानी को एंजॉय कर रहे हो, खाना खा रहे हो तो हर एक लुकमे को एंजॉय करो. यू आर अ हैप्पी पर्सन. देयर इज नो रॉकेट साइंस टू हैप्पीनेस. यस, यू कैन बिकम द मोस्ट फेमस पर्सन ऑन अर्थ, लेकिन अगर आप मुश्किल मर के उस पोजीशन पे पहुंचोगे, आप कहोगे कि ये मेरी जिंदगी का मकसद था इधर पहुंचना. सो लाइफ इज नॉट अ परसूट ऑफ हैप्पीनेस. भागने पीछे भागने का नाम नहीं है. इट इज एन एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ हैप्पीनेस. जाहिर करना खुशी का नाम है. ठीक है ना जी? कोई उसके पीछे जितना भागोगे वो उतना ही दूर भागेगा आपसे. ठीक है ना? तो खुशी हर एक लम्हे के अंदर है, लेकिन कोई हमें स्कूल और कॉलेज में हमें किसी ने नहीं सिखाया कि किस तरह दिमाग को लम्हा मौजूद में रखना है, और वो इस घंटे में हम आपको सिखाएंगे. ठीक है ना जी? सो ये तो हो गया हैप्पीनेस ना. डज एनीबडी नो व्हाट हेल्थ इज? सेहत क्या चीज है ये बताएं, बिकॉज वी डोंट नो व्हाट हेल्थ इज. बताएं, एनी आइडियाज? इनर वेलबींग और मेंटल एंड फिजिकल. और बताएं. नॉट टेकिंग एनी मेडिसिन. अ पीसफुल माइंड. अच्छा जी, सो ये प्लीज. अच्छा जी, हेल्थ इज नॉट द मेयर एब्सेंस ऑफ डिजीज. सिर्फ बीमार ना होने का नाम सेहत नहीं है, बट इट इज अ स्टेट ऑफ वेलनेस ऑन द फिजिकल, मेंटल, इमोशनल एंड स्पिरिचुअल लेवल. ये चारों चीजें बैलेंस में हो तो आप सेहतमंद कहलाते हो. चारों चीजें. हम यूजुअली ओनली वी थिंक इट फिजिकल एंड मेंटल, बट इट्स ऑल्सो इमोशनल एंड ऑल्सो स्पिरिचुअल. रूहानी, रूहानियत भी आप, यू हैव टू बी बैलेंस्ड ऑन द रूह के लेवल पे. ठीक है ना जी. तो बाज लोग फिजिकली फिट होते हैं, मेंटली वीक. बाज लोग मेंटली और फिजिकली बिल्कुल ठीक होते हैं, बट इमोशनली डिजास्टर, बिल्कुल जज्बाती पागल. बाज लोग होते हैं फिजिकली, मेंटली, इमोशनली ठीक, बट स्पिरिचुअली अनअवेयर. स्पिरिचुअलिटी का मतलब समझते हैं कि कोई, कि क्या है? व्हाट इज इट? अवेयरनेस, spirit, soul, being, consciousness, yes, higher intelligence. हम सब के अंदर जी एक सुकून का गहवारा है, एक पीस जोन, एक सेक्रेट स्पेस, एक ब्लिस स्पॉट हम सब के अंदर है. लेकिन हम उसको क्यों नहीं हर एक लम्हे में एक्सपीरियंस करते हैं? बिकॉज हमारे वजूद के तय पे स्ट्रेस है जी. हमारे दिमाग में, हमारे अकल में, हमारी यादाश्त में और हमारी अना पे. ठीक है जी. We hold stress on all these 4 layers. समझ आ गई जी? And basically हमारे ये जो घंटा है ना, हम आपको अपना inner self दिखाएंगे. ये जो we all, समझ आ गई ना जी? We have 7 layers to our existence. I will repeat. We have a body layer. Can I write on something? We have a body layer. Yes, a body. Yes, everybody. Then we have the breath layer. Imagine the breath. Then we have mind, intellect, memory and ego. And when we remove stress from all these 4 layers, you come to something called the inner self. Okay? Now the inner self, you can call it soul, spirit, being, nature, infinity, higher intelligence. You can call it God. Do you believe that God बादलों में रहता है या आपके अंदर? शेरक से भी ज्यादा करीब है कि नहीं? Yes. So because God, खुदा हमारे अंदर है, we have to respect ourselves and respect others. है कि नहीं? बनती है. लेकिन हम पता नहीं ऊपर क्यों देखते हैं दुआ करते हुए. कभी ये सोचा है? हमारे अंदर है खुदा. समझ आ गई ना जी? और खुदा उस वक्त हमारे अंदर 24 घंटे होता है, not only 5 times. वो तो एक रिचुअल है हमें सीधा रखने का, you know, giving us a habit. But God is inside you all the time. Are you understanding this point? So you are divine. You are a divine being. Yes. So that is what, but you are only divine. Sune. Hello. Sune mujhe. You are only divine when you are in the moment and you don't have stress. समझ आ गई ना जी? समझ आ गई बात की? तो ये स्ट्रेस जो है ना, ये बहुत खराब चीज है. जो हमारे जो औलिया कराम वगैरह थे, वो आपने कभी एक स्ट्रेस ज्यादा औलिया कराम को इमेजिन कर सकते हैं? नो ना. A prophet or a saint is always peaceful. Why?